Welcome once again to Tinker, Tailor, Solder, Fry, the Let's Try program here on the mighty Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. My name is Ian. We've got Alex with me today.
Hello.
And of course, Paul is on the ones and twos.
Hello.
And you have the most important job of all. Your job, should you choose to accept it, is to enjoy this program. If you want to go farther, you can interact with us directly at twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun. And if you want to go all the way, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun is where you go to give us your monetary support and help us continue to do all these programs here on the channel and on the panoply of our YouTube channels over at youtube.com. But we brought Alex into the room for a reason today.
This stream will self-destruct in 5 seconds.
What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to set up a episode a month on this program where people can just get together to hang out and work on, hobby-style projects.
Oh, I got some kits. But this one was sent by a fan.
Yes. Yeah, it's been sitting in the...
I don't remember who it was, but
yeah.
they sent it, and I think you had a look at it, and Cam had a look at it. And then I was like, ooh.
Yep.
I wanna.
Yeah, I've been looking for someone else to geek out over Machine Krieger stuff for a while.
Look at this.
Finally, it's here. The Luna Gans.
Do we know who it's from?
I cannot remember because it is a very, very long time ago, but I believe it is in mail time. Yeah, this has been sitting on the the shelf of board games since before the pandemic arrived.
This looks like one of those great, 1980s stop motion props that's being kit bashed. So I automatically love it.
Well, funny you should mention that, Alex.
Can you just show the cover off to the close camera there?
There we go.
Whoa. Yeah, I got that. Getting those Luna gains.
Oh, it's Nyagoki.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Nigoki-san,
There we
thank
go.
you so much. Yeah.
I'm gonna build it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this built.
What an interesting scale, 1/20th.
I'm surprised that neither you nor Cameron are familiar with this line of
I think
of
I've
models.
seen them in passing, and I'm like, that looks really cool.
Mm-hmm. It's funny you mentioned the stop motion animation from the 80s, because the guy who is behind Machine Krieger, Mr. Ko Yokoyama, was the guy who worked on Gunhead.
Oh my god! How do I not know that?
And I think this is actually based off of some of his work there that either led to
Please,
or
I
from
can
it.
only get so hard.
So is this is not actually from anime or anything. This is just it is a unique model.
What it was, Machine Krieger was a series of dioramas and fictional stories.
It's like alt history, Second World War, right?
Yeah, well, post Second World War,
Oh,
and
okay,
in the future. But it was I can't remember which magazine it was.
Is it like?
I mean, the
one of
box.
those-
The box is really nice in that it looks like a very sort of military. One of these this particular model of tank.
This looks like where you would get cartridges out of or something. But yeah, if you're wondering why I had that reaction to the name Gunhead, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Have I even shown my Gunhead on stream?
I have a vague recollection of you
I
bringing
don't
it on.
remember if I did show and tell. I need to repair it because the gun head broke.
Oh, okay.
But it'll be fine. Oh my god, yeah, that was like a unicorn kit for me. I found it in Seattle a number of years ago, and
Nigayuki has confirmed that you have shown it off by also mentioning what the brand of the kit was. So, well done.
Anywho,
you've definitely shown it off in my headcanon anyway.
And thank you, Gorobe, as well for it was Hobby Japan magazine that did the stories and the diorama shops.
That adds up. That I would expect. Yeah. But now that I know the lineage of this kit, I'm even more excited.
Yeah, so this is a reprint of one of the original ones that they did, and apparently in the next few years they're working on a television series around this, I guess.
What?
So let's get excited for that.
So it's opposite. They made the models first, and then they're going to make a television
Yeah, they made the model.
Well, you get the merch settled up
Yeah.
right away.
Models from scratch too, which was the cool part about all this. And of course, I will be continuing on with the massive build that is the Sturm Tyrann from Kotobukiya's ZOIDS line.
I love that it's 1/20th scale of a thing that doesn't exist. Like, it's not like there's a version of it anywhere else that is 1-to-1 scale.
Well-
like in a movie or in a TV show.
They
or
did
anything.
have to arbitrarily decide how big it was.
So,
I think the scale is one of those things you probably decide
You still
after the
think
fact.
about it. But
but
and-
like all they have to do is write in, like, because it's you know, because this is the only version of it, right? So they could be like, it's 1/200th scale. It's now 10 times larger than it was before.
And they don't even maintain the scale within the line. I was just going over the wares of our local hobby shop, who will not be named, so until we get sponsorship. That these come in 1/20, 1/45. I think there's one in 1/65. And yeah, they come with these cool ass little data sheets.
oh man, put that in your 3-ring field binder.
Yeah. All right. And again, a big thank you as well to Andrew Wells.
Oh
That's why I
snap!
keep notes.
Oh,
What do you got there?
oh, you sneaky bugger!
Ooh, exciting bits.
Oh yes, this is very exciting bits.
Yeah.
If we can get a close up.
Oh,
This
you're,
is the. I'll move this out of the way. This is the sort of hard mode.
Ooh. Are those like real springs
Uh,
that actually are?
yes, they are, Paul. They are real ass springs, and this
Wow.
is like
Is this actually a
tubing.
is this
and
actually
brass
like going to be a
rod.
mobile model?
I don't think so, but like just for verisimilitude, they tend to do stuff like this. I, at a guess, I would think that this brass rod is meant to be like pinned in place so that the hoses can be connected. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
I will have to bring my pin vise.
I completely forgot to
next
bring
time.
that in. But
I don't think I'm going to get into that just right away. There's no brass photo etch parts, so that's something. Oh, maybe it is a mobile model.
hey, soft.
They've got like
plastic.
Gundam-style joints.
Yeah.
Is that a bubble
The
canopy?
polycaps, I believe I was referring to. Yeah, that looks like a that looks like a bubble canopy.
And we got 2 sprues and the instructions.
Fantastic.
All right, well let's. Oh, I also brought my mysterious can of stuff.
Is this a
This is the-
sprue goo in progress?
This is the good shit. This is I've forgotten the name of it. Probably because I've exposed myself or something. This was a recommendation from Adam Savage off of one of his shows. I have decanted the big container that I got into this one, and I'm going to be further decanting that into this little reservoir because this has ultra low viscosity.
Oh, so is that
So you paint it on with a brush.
that more cyanoacrylic?
It's not. It's not crazy glue. It's styrene cement.
Ah. Yep.
So,
Yep.
and it smells great.
I cannot wait.
We are gonna get high as frig out here, but
I
I am
was
gonna give it like a timeout
A little
over
worried
in the corner.
if you wanted to do some super gluing, I would break out the applicator, which is unfortunately broken at the moment, but it's just a tiny little.
That's a kill dart.
Yep.
That's a prop from the next Dune movie.
Well, when working, it's basically a tuning fork with a tiny space between the two tines, and you use it to just touch the glue and then touch the part that you want to become stuck.
Yep.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah, it was definitely handy during some of the kill team constructions.
Yeah, it's weld on. Nigoki, of course, knows
okay.
it.
Weld on.
Yeah, it there's this was the like super fast curing that uses to do like rapid prototyping of
Right.
stuff.
Right.
So for
So-
like scratch building.
So, Alex, were you saying that the initial sculpt of this model, the idea is that the initial sculpt of this was kind of kit bash.
It looks like that. I don't know if it was.
I can answer that question, and yes, it was.
Oh,
And
baby.
so, as opposed to making it fully out of clay model, making like a clay
Just
model
from
or
scratch?
making a scratch model. It's actually was sort of kit
That's
bashed
really
from different
interesting
weird
because
things.
then somebody could
And then
ostensibly take this and kit bash it into something else.
and also to take something that's sort of kit bash and then turn it back into a kit.
It seems extremely kit bashable too.
Oh man.
I remember it's like Mystery Science Theater. The robots for Mystery Science Theater, Crow and Tom Servo and everything,
Oh.
were originally Joel Hodgson made those. He was a prop comic, and he made them from props from just random stuff.
Yeah.
Tom Servo's head is in fact a gumball machine.
My family owned that gumball machine and got rid of it.
The back of Crow's head is the mask of a goalie mask, all this kind of stuff. But the problem is they went back to make, to replace the robots or make more, and those toys weren't available anymore.
No
You
longer.
can't get that specific gunball machine anymore.
Yep.
And so they ended up having to make molds of those things that were originally just toys, so that they can replicate them over and over again.
Which in itself is a weird little copyright infringement.
Right? Yeah.
To try to figure out where I left off last time.
I gotta figure out where all these sprues are. So here's A.
Now we get to see if Krieger, what is it called?
Machine Krieger.
Machine Krieger has a more logical sprue naming system than the what is it? The random switching between letters and Japanese characters.
Right, yes, the
D.
Roman and katakana.
Okay.
Nice. I'm liking the little.
What in the hell is that?
I bet those
Oh my god!
are for you to cut out.
Wait, what?
So on the top of the runner.
These are all rivets.
Yep. If you, in case the build that comes out of the mold isn't riveted enough for you, you can cut out your own rivets and just glue them
I
on.
can't even think about how I would begin to cut those off.
Chisel.
That's
knife.
Or just like a chisel.
Yeah.
I'll have to sharpen up my chisels. Right, J.
I do kind of like the idea of just like, hey, we've got extra space on this sprue. Let's just put some weird rivets and
Okay, so here's A. Where the hell is
I
B?
love it.
random stuff on here, just
Oh,
in
I bet
case.
you it's...
Some extra greeblies.
Yeah, I mean, there's a model channel that I watch casually. I think it's called, like, Night Shift or something. It's some guy in Europe, and boy, the finish he puts on his models. So he does a lot of, like, Axis armor, and what he'll do is he'll putty the seams and then go in with, like, a little rod and tap them to make the welding, like the welding
To
beads.
weld, like, so
Yeah.
he's not just de-seaming, he's proper
Oh, yeah, he
seaming.
makes like actual weld beads, and then he'll do torch cuts on the sides of plates,
Oh my gosh.
and he will paint the like flat surfaces with a really thinned putty compound to get like that uneven kind of like forged steel look.
Oh god.
It looks amazing, but the guy's a maniac.
Yeah, that's a bit farther than what the level of effort that I'm willing to put in right now.
And that is why we failed.
You have, you have to make up like it's like the this particular tank, the man who welded it together had a slight tremor in his right hand,
You joke, but it's
which
Where's-
means
Yep.
that all the welds that are this way have a slight
I
discrepancy.
think there's something I actually think about, not frequently, but occasionally, is that like the Germans were the only ones who used Zimmerit during the war, which is first of all ironic because they were the only ones who had magnetic mines,
I mean, go with what you know.
and the lasting impact of that has been in scale modelers finding different ways to simulate Zimmerit
and add more
on the
Zimmerit.
hulls of their tigers and panthers and shit.
I don't actually know what Zimmer is.
Zimmerit is a ceramic coating placed on the outside of tanks, and it looks sort of corrugated because it was
It's
applied.
it's like an ablative thing
Not
for missiles?
actually, no. It's a standoff to defeat magnetic munitions.
Oh.
So you can't stick a magnet to it because it's this like layer of standoff inert material, and they won't adhere properly. And
Cool.
they made this and they put it on tons of their tanks, and the Allies I don't think ever used it.
You just duct tape it.
I mean,
The one I've been hearing a lot of now is the active explosives.
there's a whole meme now,
Yeah, that's
which
one of
I
those,
think is that's very weirdly like in my wheelhouse as a thing to get traction. I'm like, how is the ERA meme a thing?
it's one of those amazing like ideas that you're like, that is ridiculous.
Yep.
And then it's like, but we're
Yeah.
we're gonna, in order to stop it from being destroyed, we're gonna cover your
gonna
tank
blow
with
it up.
explosives.
But like that's literally how it works. For those of you unfamiliar, ERA stands for explosive reactive armor, which is literally covering your tank in little bombs. So what it does is it disrupts the blast pattern of incoming
armor-piercing
warheads
explosives. Yeah.
that rely on a specific geometry and, moreover, a specific distance from the hull to achieve their maximum effect. And so you blow it up in midair
Yep.
and sustain less damage.
Just don't do that thing where you like, slide across the hood of the.
It's the easiest way to fight fire with fire.
Yeah, it really does seem like one of those things that's so stupid that,
Or just like lean. Just don't lean against the tank.
yeah. I mean, it's like with this Metal Gear Solid 3 remake happening, it reminds me of one of my favorite stories about that game where a friend of mine was, they were gushing about it when it came out, and they were like, oh man, it's full of like all this insane like Cold War super tech that doesn't exist. Like there's this guy with this nuclear rocket launcher, and I had to just like sort of take his shoulder and be like, okay, so the Davy Crockett launcher was a real thing that they actually built
And tested.
and tested. I believe they had accuracy problems.
I mean,
It looks like a cartoon, like the photographs.
oh yeah, it looks ridiculous.
This guy has this bomb bigger than his head that he's just like sticking on the end, and the other guy's like, yes.
Yes, fun. We're very 50s men.
Yeah, we're extremely 50s men with our big atom bombs. We're just putting on everything.
When I was working at a long time ago, worked at a museum design company and worked on the Atomic Testing Museum in Las Vegas.
I saw your work
Oh, nice.
with Graham, actually.
Yeah. And but they've got a picture of the first and I believe only test of a like nuclear missile firing cannon. Like they have a cannon that was going to be like firing nuclear shells.
Yeah,
And
that
then
one's one's very famous.
I guess they figured out that firing a
Like,
nuke
okay.
with a giant explosion might not be like
Yeah,
the
it's
safest
like, okay,
thing.
that totally works. I mean, we don't need it, but
The favorite thing I've been reading about recently has been using atomic explosives as a catalyst for making shaped, using a nuclear device as a shaped charge to set off X-ray lasers
to what end?
to kill people and satellites.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I thought they figured that out with like the EMP burst that you get anyway.
I mean, the EMP is it's big, but it's not directed.
I mean, that's one of the weirdest things about the hydrogen bomb is it's actually like two bombs. They're just like, okay, we have a regular atom bomb, and that's just there to like set off the rest of the thing. And we've got all sorts of like tritium boosters and like a peanut-shaped like plutonium pusher or
like-
some
what-
BS. It's
what-
nonsense.
when you're armament starts looking like a Rube Goldberg thing. It's like, okay, this
It totally does.
This
If you've ever
blows
seen-
up and then squishes this, which explodes and then activates the X-ray laser.
No
and the
part
laser
of that
shoots
is
the
an
thing.
exaggeration.
Yeah,
Like
and
if
the
you look
laser
at
shoots the thing.
I'm entirely certain that this is not what Colonel Sanders. Wow.
Colonel Sanders. I found a way to cook chicken deep down.
Scientist man, Carl
What's that?
Sagan.
That thermonuclear.
If you wish to make some delicious chicken, you must first mix 12 herbs and spices.
12 isotopes of plutonium.
I'm pretty sure this is
There's
what
not
this is
actually
not
that
what
many.
Colonel Sanders meant when he said, if you want to make a bigger explosion, you have to first invent a smaller explosion. But if you, by the way, if you're interested in Zimmerit, the aesthetic, and would like to see how it's applied to modern things like, oh God, most of Makoto Kobayashi's Gundam designs, check out Zimmerit.moe.
Oh man, that's one of the most Japanese addresses I can think of.
It's run by an American dude.
That's even more weird.
But who's very specifically into that 80s to 90s era of giant robots from that.
Man, that rules.
All right, step 22.
I'm still on step 1 because I gotta find all these parts.
Don't worry.
You know, talking about diesel punk robots, one of my favorite anime series in that ilk is called Kishin Heidan.
Mm-hmm.
It came out under the title like Geo Armor or something.
Huh.
It's like alternate World War II where there's aliens
Okay.
and they have something to do with this like module that allows the Allies to build these big mechs. And of course the Germans are trying to get in on that action,
Mm-hmm.
but they're like falling behind. It's really sweet.
I do like the creation stories for big war tech.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. Okay, so that goes there and that goes there.
Okay.
It's always that like, okay, for especially if they're trying to like set up, some sort of semi-realistic alternate future kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
They have to like, okay, why are they using big mechs rather than just tanks?
Because Big Macs rule.
It's like we got to come up with some semi-plausible reason why they're using they're using mechs rather than big tanks. It doesn't have to be a good reason. It just has to be enough.
That's why I am happiest with the decision they made in Space Runaway Ideon. The answer being, why is it a giant humanoid robot? Because the aliens who built it made it that way. That's why.
Can't argue with that.
Why did they do it that way? Shame we can't ask them. They're all dead.
Yeah.
Need a polycap here. Ooh, and beef. Oh no. Need to find B.
I like that. So I just filled this dish with my styrene cement, and the first thing it did was completely dissolve the lettering on the bottom of the can.
Mm.
So that's how you know it's good. I mean, it's just because it's a solvent.
But a good solvent's hard to find. I mean, it actually is these days. Okay, let's get some more of these runners out and about here, because I'm gonna need space. There's B. Too much injection. F7. No, wait.
Am I supposed to putty these straight away, or do I do that all in one step afterwards?
I think the idea is that you test fit, and then you glue and putty.
Awkward.
I've recently been told that Gunpla is freedom, so.
Well, I mean,
I can-
Gunpla is different because you don't glue anything.
Well, I mean, some people don't.
Wait, what?
By putty, do you mean like puttying the cracks?
seams.
The seams? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
15, there we go.
Like, I might get away with this if the fit is tight enough. But ideally you join and then putty the seams and then sand them so that you make the seams disappear.
You can't just use your. You can't just break out the automotive filler primer.
Yeah, you can.
Well, I mean, you can. If you hate detail, yes.
Yeah, like after you do that, then you scribe the new lines.
Aha, yeah, there we go. Corey was showing me last night a video of someone who had decided to see what it's like when you put 100 layers of properly thinned paint onto a Warhammer miniature.
Oh, God.
It's kind of amazing because they lose all definition, but it's beautifully smooth contours.
That's
It's
that's very weird and very specifically weird.
like it's kind of like perfect. No, was it Perfect Dark on the or Killer Set? What was that fighting game for the Ultra 64?
Ultra 64?
Sorry, I forgot the name of the Nintendo 64 for a second. Sometimes my mind just remembers code names.
Wake up, Ian.
But yeah, you basically just like turned the Warhammer
It's just
miniature
the LOD drops to nothing.
turned him into like his hitbox.
Basically.
Okay, so I need to make sure that this part is facing up because eventually I will be putting a little coil spring in there. Or like an antenna,
Ooh,
which I think I'll do.
fun.
I think I'm going to do all that stuff later, mainly because I lack the tools to do any of it right now.
You kind of got dropped into this, didn't you?
Yeah, I was not expecting that kind of thing. I mean, I guess I should have expected at least some photo etch, which you need like a little tiny press brake for,
Yeah.
which is also very cool.
So that's an interesting thing too. Photo etch parts have, at least in the Gunpla world, got a lot easier to deal with
Is
because
that so?
now instead of just etching them and leaving like a bit of metal sprue, they'll put down a layer of adhesive plastic on both sides.
Okay, I'm going to do this later because this is the canopy. And I feel like I would want to paint the interior black or something.
Yeah,
What's that supposed to look like?
Just
It is a canopy.
it's a shame. It's a shame there's no color pictures of it.
Well, this is in color.
yeah, that's in color.
Oh, is it?
just, like, it's just in
Yeah,
camouflage.
it's very
Oh, it's just
yeah,
gray.
it's very desaturated.
God, I get flipped every time.
Yeah,
Oh, I
you can
see.
see the yellow on the
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
stickers.
It's meant to break up its outline on the battlefield. Okay, so this one is a bunch of stuff stuck together. That's an antenna. That's an antenna.
I feel
get a
like when
pen.
something is 20 feet tall, like breaking up its outline is less of a.
Have you not seen dazzle camouflage on battleships?
Yeah, but that's not to break up its.
Yeah, it is.
I mean that's
That's so its position is more difficult to judge at a distance.
yeah, which is different from like dazzle camouflage makes it very easy to see. It's just hard to tell which direction it's going,
Yeah,
as opposed to painting your thing, green or whatever. So you're like,
it's true.
it's like I can't see that. All I can see is this giant green thing.
Sir, we're being attacked by a giant green thing.
Ah, thank God.
What? Oh, you're like, where's that sprue?
Well, they mark it as PC8, but there's only one B on PC8.
That's awkward.
Thankfully, there's PC1, which also has a B, and 2 extra A's. So here
I
we
have
are.
no idea what that meant. There's PC,
Yeah, there's runner PC,
PC,
and there's runner PC1.
and PC1 has 2 A's and a B on it.
Yeah, PC1 has 2 A's and 2 B's, 6 C's and 2 D's.
Okay, so, but who's on first?
Unfortunately, I think I need to find a second PC1 is what I need, because the B on PC, or PC1's B.
I have a close-up on this fun little sanding tool that I brought that I haven't used in a long time because it was missing. So this is an aluminum yoke, I guess, and it has a flexible sanding strip, so it will form to the contour.
It's like a harp sander or something.
Yeah, so I'm using this to do sanding on this big radius here.
Spiffy diffy.
Nice.
Yeah, normally very difficult to get a...
I mean, you'd have to take a thing, go like that, and be... You would be filmed in black and white, and you'd like wreck your model.
There's got to be a better way.
There's got to be a better way. And everything just falls over.
Yep. I've got to be very careful about these parts because they look very weird and asymmetrical.
I know, isn't it great?
Yeah, no, I love it. It's just gonna be okay. There. Okay, so that
B14.
is like that on the side, and then that interface is like that. Okay, that's perfectly clear. So now we can apply some glue on the inside. The fun part about using this kind of glue is that when you look away for a while and come back, you have less glue.
Oh yeah, because it just straight up evaporates?
Yep.
Oof.
It doesn't dry, it evaporates.
No, it just disappears. It's gone to a better place.
You've just made the air around you like 0.000% more glue.
It's like how many ppm of glue is in here?
You unloaded a lot of glue into that tank.
A17.
I need to watch that episode.
This is so small.
Oh wow, that's tiny stuff.
I mean, still, I can't complain because I have put together brass photo etch parts that are the size of like a numeral on a dime.
Mm-hmm. Tiny little...
Because I'm out of my mind.
Yep.
And so is the person who made that kit.
But boy, I bet it turned out nice.
Yeah, it's a kit I've been poking away at for my dad of a prime mover from the Chernobyl cleanup.
Oh yeah, no, you started that. You started that on this very program.
I did many years ago, and then a thing happened. I've been meaning to get back to it because I got the kit bashing urge real bad with that one because the crane did not have adequate detail for my taste, and so I like. What did I add? I added rivets onto the crane assembly and like extra parts, and I actually like wound the spool with fine music wire.
Oh wow.
Why would that little piece be separate and not just part of
This one?
Yeah.
'Cause it's sort of sticky outy. I imagine that there's like, there's probably a lot of decisions that go into about like whether it's efficient molding, possible molding, or just how many little bits the builder is going to demand.
And I think that was what I was going to hazard a guess at, is that it's given the target market of this particular type of kit.
It's just like lots of greebles.
Yeah, I think people want to have the option to put the greebles, the number and location of greebles that they want.
There is that interesting aspect where, you know, it's like they talk about with like instant cake mixes, where when they first came out, it was just add water.
Just add water, yeah.
And they didn't sell very well because people didn't feel like they were doing enough, so they changed it so you had to add like water and an egg and milk.
And suddenly that's enough for people to...
And people are like, okay, I feel like I'm actually like baking
I
now.
baked a cake.
So it's like, and I mean, yeah, obviously models could just come in one big piece.
And some do actually. Like there is a target demographic. There is a demographic for people who just want pre-painted models.
Well, that's...
And more power to them because like this is, you know, heinous bullshit that we just inflict upon ourselves.
in the Gundam
Oh,
community
boy.
that's known as the Gundam figuration, and was actually quite popular and got me into buying robots in the first place.
Roboto.
I mean, it's sort of the equivalent of like those, one of those like Lego pirate ships, where the ship is just like two ship pieces that you
Yep.
attach together, as opposed to like made out of little teeny
I
blocks.
swear that's an Al Jaffe strip from Mad Magazine in the 80s, maybe the 60s even, where like this kid buys a rocket ship kit and it's like 3 sections that just like fit together.
Stunk, stunk, stunk.
It's like, boo. It's like, just you wait. Just you wait till you're bending photo etch.
I think that's actually what kind of what Lego scratches the itch for a lot of people, because my personal concept of Lego in my head is that it's a creativity tool. You know, you're supposed to start with a blank slate and build up what you want.
Yeah, I was always
nothing.
kind of like medium on this sort of like model kit direction. I hesitate to call it a toy. What is Lego?
I mean, it's a toy.
It's a toy,
It's a toy system.
an activity.
Yeah.
But
It's a building block.
I mean, there's always the thing of like, the typical thing is you build the thing on the box and then take it apart and put
Yeah,
it
and then
in
you
the,
combine them.
and then you put it in, take it apart and put it in the big bin of Lego that you can never find anything in.
Yeah, I think I'm just glad that they have the classic set still that's just like a bunch of blocks for you to do whatever with.
And you can even just like mail order specific blocks.
Yeah. The tolerances on those blocks is ridiculous, apparently.
They did a good thing when they designed that block.
I mean, didn't James May build a house out of it?
Yes.
I mean, it didn't last very long.
Yeah,
but
he built something out of it.
There have been multiple. I believe there have been like multiple houses. Like I think Lego does it for exhibitions every once in a while.
yeah, that sounds about right.
There's a guy on I've seen like YouTube shorts and stuff of just a guy who's just like a master, one of the like Lego master builder people. He just like shows off some of the random cool stuff he makes. They'll be like, hey, they want to have like a big cherry tree, so I'm building like figuring out how to make like a cherry blossom, and then I'm making 1,000 of them.
That's how we turn it over to our interns. To knock these out of the park.
Yeah, it's like when I read Akira and you look at the building fronts with like thousands, like literal thousands of windows.
Oh, yep.
It's like, man, it must be nice having an assistant. Or 12.
Well, then you go to Dead Demons Day-to-Day Instruction, where the guy is quite open about his using of Unity to design backgrounds for his manga.
Yeah, that's definitely a thing. Like, I am in favor of it, like using that sort of thing to, to block out what your scene is going to look like. I am beginning a sub-assembly process.
Ooh.
For which these, I think these are mixed hardware boxes. Like if you buy like nuts and bolts or like particularly like picture hangers come in boxes like this, and they're
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant
So useful for this stuff.
for
Or like
storing.
resistors. You get like the the set of like
Yeah.
30 different styles of
A24
resistors.
and A23.
Can I frighten you for a second, Alex?
Sure.
Yeah. So, what
B.
runner is this? Yeah, pretty standard, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's move up.
W2.
Right. Perfect.
Oh! Ah!
Yes, you're right. You're correct.
Ah!
These
That-
these
Why would you do that?
I mean, they're technically not for us, but yeah, these runners go into they go past Z and into katakana.
That's like, what?
And also, it turns out especially when printed at the kind of resolution and without an orientation, there are quite a few katakana
Yes.
that look like English Roman characters.
What's this runner?
Don't you dare. Is it H or is it not even I? What's the symbol? That's like
It's A. You're thinking you're on the right track.
A.
That is A.
I need to study my
And H and I are also runners somewhere too, right? Yeah.
Yep. So that could be any of those.
son of a bitch.
It's exciting.
Was it? They need to talk to Dr. Seuss. He came up with, On Beyond Zebra. Came up with letters to go beyond Z.
I don't know. I get the feeling that Dr. Seuss probably was a model maker in his spare time.
He seems like the type, yeah.
Yeah. Probably ships, though. Maybe cars. Actually, now that's something I have not seen and would love to see, is a model kit of some of Dr. Seuss's.
Ooh, like the contraptions?
Yeah, the contraptions or the little vehicles.
Oh, almost like a little diorama kit would be. That would be super neat. I'm surprised that hasn't been a thing.
It's possible that they are. Like, there's these kits that come out and disappear into the annals of history.
I mean, I feel like there isn't a ton of Dr. Seuss merchandise
No, it's
outside the books. Maybe that's intentional.
it could be. Oh,
That's control that's been that his estate or whatever keeps fairly close tabs on the
moly!
IP.
This is
Yeah, usually it seems to be just the movie stuff that gets. What do you got going on?
this is really hitting the ground running. We got lots of greebles to add.
Ooh.
This next page is like, okay, this thing that seemed really simple to put together, add stuff.
I see.
Oh no, I have to make a decision about whether I keep this instrument panel open.
Oh no.
So, I see your Alex, you're sort of putting things together and gluing them as you go.
Yeah.
Is there could you also sort of do a thing where you sort of are press fit it and up to a certain point?
A lot of this is not going to press fit because there's sometimes on this particular kit, there's sort of registration pins in some cases, but there's not a lot that holds it together.
So we're counting on this step-by-step instructions, not to be put this on this.
Yep.
And then turn the page. But first,
They're generally pretty good about that kind of thing. And
put
I think
the
I can
warning before the thing.
But here's a perfect example of an interesting choice that this kind of in-depth kit is going to make. So you can see this little compartment here is filled with little details. There's a little box of some sort and a tube. And then the part that I have is a panel cover that would fit in place over that, covering it completely. And I could do that, or I could do something where I'm
It's half open.
half open. So it's maybe if I wanted to do a scene where it's being maintained or something. So I'm
Or
gonna
it could
leave.
be all kind of. It could be all twisted, as if it's broken.
It took a shell to the front, or just being bisected by a laser beam or something.
Dang, that would be cool.
There's a kit that there's a diorama I want to do. It's gonna be an Axis research facility, and there's a big weird looking row of magnets with all these wires coming out of it and big diesel generators, and there's all these guys in lab coats leaping for joy and popping champagne, and then in front of it is a captured Sherman with target markings and a big hole blown straight through it. And then behind some oil drums will be some SAS guys putting suppressors on their guns and stuff.
That's a fun little story.
I think that's going to be really fun.
I like dioramas that have that much going on.
Yeah, there's a couple that I have planned that are very ambitious. Did I tell you about my Gravity's Rainbow one?
No.
So I haven't read the book, but I've heard about the conceit, and that like one of the characters, they have this this phobia, this weirdly specific phobia of like being struck by a falling V2 missile. And apparently in the book they describe this like this incredible feeling of pressure right on the crown of their head.
And then nothing.
Yeah, right before being blown into like indescribable like atomic dust or something.
Yeah.
What I want to do is like a very tiny, like little, maybe like 3-inch square corner of like London City, like maybe like a post box or a piece of a building, and there's a guy standing there, and he's just looking up slightly, and there's an entire V2 missile that's just
Coming right
touching
over
his head. So it'll have like an armature wire through the figure up into the thing, and it'll hold it in place. So it's just being like,
So basically, this tiny little guy is going to have like a 1/4-inch brass rod coming up his leg and up his through his spine.
and I
That's
mean,
gonna be
like,
rad.
and I got to decide if I want to like have it like just slightly into his head and like one of his eyes bulging out slightly or something. I'm a sicko.
Now, if you want to get really involved there, I would suggest to put some gearing on that rod that's supporting the V2 on a flywheel, so that you can pull it back and just have it slowly come down and contact the head.
Very silly.
And then it's raining.
Oh,
As if the day could not get any worse.
Oh.
and it's raining. Yep. That was the scary thing about the V2. The V1 was a terrifying weapon because you heard it coming, and I was like,
Oh God, yeah, that was
and
like
then
a two-stroke in the air.
The engine would cut out, and there'd be this dreadful silence for like 15 or 20 seconds or something, and then a building would blow up. The V2 was just like, oh, that block just disappeared, because it was a supersonic missile. It would just be like, boop,
Yeah, just goes.
just like, oh, part of London detonated for no reason.
That happened for a significant amount of time.
Fortunately, I believe the Allies overran the manufacturing and launching facilities during the latter parts of the war, so they like weren't able to do too many of those. Or maybe I'm thinking of the Paris gun.
I seem
Well,
to
there's a bunch of stuff like that. The Germans are very war-loosey. Tell me I'm a liar.
I mean, 2 for 2, yeah. It's not the best record.
Oh, this is another panel that is like for there. There's like all these little flappy outy bits.
I'm currently working on these 3 pieces of armor that
1920.
appear to be very similar. Ooh, we're almost done a runner. Always feels good when that's the case. B28. Bingo. Yes, we have to get that joke in at least once per stream.
Which joke?
The bingo color. Looking for B28.
Winner,
Yeah.
chicken
28.
dinner.
Now I'm just imagining like a church, church hall filled with retirees all building gunpla.
Oh man, that's with one
like-
set of instructions.
And they like call out the things, and everyone's like, "Okay, yep,
Yep.
like
building
A,
that one."
25. That does sound like a very wholesome kind of community activity. I like it.
Actually, that would be an interesting exercise, because I'm not one of those people who likes to rush my model builds. It always blows my mind whenever I see people saying, I managed to finish this kit in 3 hours.
So?
Great. You managed to take what could
Wow,
have been
it's crooked.
and you could have taken an activity that could have taken a couple weeks of nice, relaxing, slow, and turned it into a contest.
So yeah, I ripped through Butchart Gardens in 20 minutes. I think I got the world record for that.
But the idea of having a caller call the piece
That is kind of cool.
and having to keep up with that.
Just like setting a pace. That is kind of wild.
Like it's kind of like a chess clock thing then.
Competitive model building.
I mean, yeah.
You have two people sitting opposite with the same model kit, and like the guy takes a piece and adds it, and then like clocks.
Yeah, there we go. I think we just made another crap shot.
Yep. Or streaming content.
Yep. I mean, those entry grade gunpla kits are pretty inexpensive, and
So I'm just.
It's reminds. I forget who it is, but there's some famous thing talking about how you can see everything that's important to see in the Louvre in 6 minutes. It's like Michelangelo's David, the Mona Lisa, and
wow.
something else.
Yeah, good luck
And it's just
seeing
like-
the Mona Lisa. I've seen it. It's so much smaller than you think, and it's surrounded by a bunch of bulletproof glass and a miasma of tourists. It's like kind of underwhelming, honestly.
But a statement like "see everything that's worth seeing in the Louvre in 6 minutes," like
So
tell me you hate art without telling me you hate art.
Or just like you have a weirdly misplaced competitive spirit for things that it should not apply to.
Oh my God, yeah, no, that it just clicked with me. That kind of attitude is it's turning art appreciation into a mass, or not a mass, but a shared experience, which I don't know if that's what it is.
Well, I mean, art is anything you can get away with, but
that's a good point,
I don't think that's a very
Art appreciation.
yeah. I don't
Yeah.
think that's a very good approach.
Be like taking a helicopter up to the top of Mount Everest or something. Not that you can do that, but
That's still probably like because then at least you get to appreciate the view. But yeah, I don't get it. Well, I do. It's just like meatheads who are meatheading.
No, conversely,
yeah, the checkbox.
It's like, what do you mean? Yeah, I make love to my girlfriend in like 2 minutes flat.
And then he started building a gunpla. Sorry, that's a meme that's been going around recently in the gunpla community.
What?
Beltorchka, Amaro's girlfriend, in a picture. It's clearly a selfie, supposed to be an Instagram post. And yeah, he finished in me and then just started going off and building a gunpla kit. And you can see him in his boxers in the back corner of the room,
Oh my god.
hunched over these runners. But I was going to say that a website that does make me happy about art appreciation is, I can't remember the name of it, but there is a site that tells you where in the United States you can go to see Hokusai's Great Wave on any particular day. And the reason that's important is because it's a woodblock print. It's extremely sensitive to light, so places that exhibit Hokusai's Great Wave only generally do so for very limited engagements.
So but it's sort of constantly touring.
No, it's a
Because it's a woodblock print, so
there's
there's many of
yeah,
them.
there were hundreds.
Oh, I see.
That number has decreased over time as time has done what it does. But these are of the remaining copies. You can see them. Well, you can go to the website and find out where it's showing today.
So, like, even if it's in the collection of a particular museum, they'll only pull it out at certain times.
Exactly.
I did not know that. How very interesting.
And it's just light itself, not even specific wavelengths. So
Paul, you were asking about dry fitting earlier. Here's a sort of example. This is way too small to God damn it to show you, but this part that I'm struggling with here has a registration peg and a contour to it. Which I'm hoping I haven't schmanged up here. And I'm just trying to orient them because the registration peg looks like a donut. Or not a donut, like the letter D. Get in there, you bastard. I think I have to widen it a little bit.
do you need tweezers?
I have tweezers.
And you're on top of it.
Yep.
I like the idea that you can go see it's like you can see the Great Wave. It is part of our collection at the museum. However, it is extremely sensitive to light. So you can only see it in a pitch black room. You cannot use any lights.
Come touch, no, come taste Hokusai's Great Wave.
Yeah. So it's there in front of you right now.
We promise.
Yeah, we promise.
We brought in a series of bat interpreters who can echolocate off of it and tell you what it looks like.
But they have to do it quietly because the ultrasonic sound will be
And unfortunately, due to budgetary
Damage.
constraints, they are all Cockney.
Cockney bats.
Well, I'm just going to go up into your attic there, have a look around, maybe get mussed up in your hair, and out before I lose the accent.
It sounded almost more Aussie.
It was getting in that direction, so
Dick Van
abort,
Dyke was just,
abort.
like, rising from his grave. You're like, oh!
Apparently that's like a ongoing sore spot for English people.
Which?
Well, that Dick Van Dyke's for accent from Mary Poppins is very Australian.
Oh, man. Well, I'm of the understanding that, like, Dick Van Dykeism is, like, a thing. It's like when you lean way too hard on the, like, regional Englishism.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that was of great concern when I was working on my book Purifier, because it was all, like, set in 30s London. And I would get, like, English people to look at it to make sure I wasn't doing, like, it's the top of the morning, you Bobby Laurie, sodding bastard drubbins. You know, you don't want to go too deep with it.
I mean, it's particularly tricky in text.
Yeah,
Like-
that's real
like-
hard.
Like I find, I usually find, especially like in books, like writing in, well, what do you call it?
An accent?
Yeah, what? There's some. It's called. What's it called when you write the accent?
You mean
Dialect.
like dialect? Have you tried reading?
It's rather than just being like he has a Scottish accent and then just doing the stuff. Rather than it's like using a ton of like apostrophes and things to make it to try to like emulate what the accent would be, assuming the person reading it is
I
like.
kind of dig that, but also it's bonkers. Like, if you've ever tried reading Train Spotting, oh my god, it's in Scottish.
And that matters.
It's really... It is a very challenging read.
Hey, I found out where the marble goes.
What?
My kit came with one of these.
What? What the heck?
It's
It's just a marble.
yeah.
Does he have some sort of fireball cannon?
Well, I appear to be constructing the core right now.
Oh.
So I think, oh no, we have one more piece on runner R.
Oh no.
There.
He has the part that you have to shoot. that will inexplicably open up in the middle of the fight for some reason.
Exactly. What the?
You know what I wish I had for this stream was something to blot excess glue with.
Oh,
'Cause I think I may have overdone it a couple times, but it's okay. I can just say it's excess weld.
I mean, it's also going to get sanded at some point too, right?
Sure.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. E2.
Ah!
Frick.
It's all the katakana. So W1. Not Canada's premier investigative journalism program, W5.
What happened to the other four? They investigated too much.
Too hard and too deeply.
The hell?
Ah, R is colorized. Or clear. Okay, let's get this in here. R3 is this one down here. It's very small. And talking about dialects, there was a article I was just reading, didn't get to finish before I popped over for this, talking about subtitles and just how bad some of them have gotten.
Oh no.
Specifically with, well, I think that a lot of companies are trying to save money now by combining subtitles and closed captioning.
Oh.
And so when you turn on subtitles a lot these days, especially on streaming services, you'll get sound effects as well, like screeching tires.
Oh dear.
I love the music cue sound effects.
And
Sometimes it is kind of funny. It's like derisive snort.
Oh
or
yeah.
something.
I mean that's good. That's descriptive.
But it's when like somebody's just like walking along and then ominous music.
Suspenseful music.
You're like, oh, that's
Okay.
what this is going on. Okay.
So the guy who's writing the article has a big beef about that, but his biggest beef is when you get the subtitle speaking foreign language.
God,
And
it's like, yeah, I know. That's why have the subtitles
yeah,
up.
but you can hear that it's Spanish, and you can understand that it's Spanish. Especially in America, it's probably going to be Spanish. There's no excuse for it to be foreign language, even if it's Klingon. We know what Klingon is. We know who these people are.
Wait, would you want it to say, like, speaking Klingon, or would you actually want it translated? I guess that's the question.
Okay, so for that kind of context, I would want it to say speaking Klingon because
It's not supposed
usually,
to be translated.
yeah, narratively that usually happens when it's like this person is saying something and the other characters don't know what they're saying.
Yes.
Otherwise, it would be subtitled to start with, even if the movie was not subtitled.
I completely agree.
I was watching one of the new Planet of the Apes movies.
Mm-hmm.
So like the modern redoing of them, and the version that I was watching was in English, but it didn't have subtitles. And I didn't realize until about halfway through that there were because the apes speak in sign language to
Yes.
each other.
Oh no!
And I thought, I was like, oh, that is actually an interesting movie making choice to make it so you have to think about what the apes mean when they're talking to each other just
Pick up by context.
just by the context and by their body
That's
language.
so
What a fun film.
funny.
I was like, that is such an interesting movie making choice. And then there's a section about halfway through that's like 20 minutes long of them just talking to each other.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, now we're getting to the
Something's
point
wrong
where
here.
something's wrong.
Yeah. No, I
so funny.
occasionally hit that too, and it upsets me every time.
But yeah, when that thing of movies that are in English but have a little bit of stuff that's supposed to be subtitled, but the version that you're watching doesn't have that little subtitle bit.
Yeah. Okay, there's a registration hole in this marble, so that's already weird.
I mean, at least there's something to go by. I feel like I should have used CA for this part. Oh well.
Here we go. The marble has successfully been contained. Oh God. So yeah, subtitle-wise, I just remembered. We're watching Star Wars Visions, the second series of. For those not aware, it's a series of short animated shorts set in the Star Wars universe by various worldwide animation houses. The first series was majority Japanese animation houses, so that was an easy one. We just stuck the we stuck the button to always Japanese audio, English subtitles.
Yeah.
The second run is a lot more international in general.
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure the last one was either a Chilean or a Spanish. It was beautiful.
Okay.
It looked stop motion animated. It was gorgeous. The problem is we still got it stuck on Japanese audio, English subtitles, because there's nowhere in the system does it tell you what the original language is.
No.
So it's translated from Chilean
Probably to English.
to English to Japanese, and then with English subtitles.
I mean, it was probably just all translated to its own. It was probably. I know that the Japanese is not matching up with the English that I'm getting, and it's probably not matching up with the Chilean either. But I would the only thing I want to do is watch things in their original language
Yep.
with a subtitle, so that I can get what is seen on screen by the people who watched it originally, and then have as little interpretation as possible.
Without learning the language.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean and by the same token, I often do get frustrated because, like, you know, I find that I have to be in a certain frame of mind to want to watch
Foreign
a
language.
subtitled thing. You know, like sometimes you just kind of you don't want to put the effort in.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it does require
And so it
you
can
paying
be
attention.
for whatever reason, like Netflix and I don't know whether Amazon Prime does this stuff, but they don't like what language it's in. Like you can't say only show me English things, which you think will be something that will be a useful filter.
Yeah, I mean,
Only show me things in the language that I speak.
I'm sure that there are people of other languages who would absolutely like that particular.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
feature.
like, or you know, if you're, I mean, often when I'm going through my Netflix there'll be like multiple versions of a particular thing because like the French version will actually be a separate item. So you know, if I was in Quebec, I'd be super annoyed because like half the things are English and half of them are French, and you don't know which one is which till you select it.
On Netflix, you can now finally watch the entirety of the first part of the Universal Century of Gundam. The first Gundam series, the second Gundam series, Gundam Zeta, and Gundam Double Zeta. All three series available. They also have the movie, Char's Counterattack, available for viewing. But you won't find it under Char's Counterattack. You'll find it under Season 2 of Mobile Suit Gundam, the original series. 'Cause that's where it goes, apparently.
What?
Yeah, not
Yeah,
the best in terms of...
A lot of streaming services have a real issues with organization of
of their
especially,
content.
especially like old TV series where like sometimes the order of the episodes was never actually that clear.
Yes.
What order do they show Haruhi in?
It's
I
like,
made a funny.
you know, do you put them in broadcast order? Do you put them in intended order? Because often those are not the same.
Yep. I've actually never watched that show.
I've
I've seen like a little bit of it.
I think you can actually safely skip it, and despite it being very influential.
I get the impression that it's probably one of those things I picked up through cultural osmosis.
Yeah, well, someone recently pointed out, gave me an interesting take on it, that the character of Haruhi is actually just a bad stereotype of some of autism tropes.
Is it?
Yeah.
That
And
makes
so
it
that-
even worse because like I found her completely insufferable when I first saw it. I was like, well, oh, she's just really awful and like
Yeah, if they're taking the piss out of a neurodivergent person on the show,
Hi-ya.
again, wouldn't surprise me in Japan in that time frame, or this time frame for that matter.
grown.
But yeah, I think you can. I think you can safely skip the Haruhi.
Yeah, that's fine.
That said, I highly recommend you check out Treasure Island from Osamu Dezaki.
I was about to say like Lucky Star on the other hand.
Oh yeah, that's
That's
classic.
an essential. I buy sausage.
I just think everyone should go watch Long John Silver kill a ghost.
What?
Yeah,
I was gonna say, telling somebody to check out Treasure Island is
It's like which one?
yeah, it's got to be like one of the most
adapted.
stories. There's an excellent version with Eddie Izzard as Long John Silver. Does a wonderful job.
That sounds amazing.
I mean, I was listening to.
He's not being funny, but it's not supposed to be funny.
I was listening to a review or a re-review of it on a movie podcast recently. Of Treasure Planet specifically.
Ah, yeah.
That's a weird one.
I need to go back and rewatch it. They made me
Yeah.
interested again.
The captain's really hot.
But yeah, the thing of Treasure Planet. Apparently it's one of those ones that got really done wrong by the studio.
Yeah, it was a passion project, I think.
It absolutely was.
Uh,
Alan Menken and
yeah, he had to do
What's his
a bunch of
face?
other stuff, and then he finally got to make it, and it didn't turn out the way he wanted.
it was the first thing they pitched actually before pitching Little Mermaid as during the big Gong Show meeting at Disney.
I don't know what that is.
Back before the Renaissance, before Little Mermaid.
Okay.
What's his face? Eisner held a big all-hands meeting to allow anyone in the company to pitch their ideas.
Wow.
And like anyone could come in from the janitor all the way up to the CEO and whatever you got, lay it out. If it's no good, they literally would bang a gong and leave you.
Okay. I mean, I can respect that directness.
And so they first pitched this idea of a Treasure Planet movie, and they're like, no, it seems a little bit, we're not into this. And then like, okay, well, what about Beauty and the Beast or The Little Mermaid? And they're like, oh, these sound good. We'll go with those. Thank you very much.
Yeah, what does this say?
Noise poto. Noise pot.
E2. What the hell is E2? Because this is sprue E, and that's not the part.
Okay. It's not on. Is it one of these?
I don't think so, because that's J. Noise poto.
No. Isupo. Oh. Noi sapota. Noi sapata. Huh.
Let's see if we can.
Something is not supported.
That's my thought.
This would actually be a good time to take a quick commercial break.
I think you're exactly right. So don't go away. We're gonna go. We're gonna go away, and we're gonna swap our fluids. We're gonna stretch our legs, and then we're gonna be back, and that's the important thing. So don't go all the way away, and we'll see you in a few. Bye. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Solder Fry, where we are experiencing Hobby Night, and we are building, respectively, the ZOIDS Sturm Tyrann and a Machine Krieger Luna Gans.
Nice scans.
Yeah. My name's Ian. This is Alex.
Hello.
We got Paul on the board.
Hello.
And yeah, we're just going to get right back into it. Once you've had a chance to enjoy the box art. I recently was forced to break down the boxes that no longer held the models that they contained previously at home.
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, did you find it? You did, yes.
Yep.
Perfect.
Okay.
It's because it's a transparent part. That's why
Of
it's different.
course.
That's why it's a camera.
Okay, so I'm going to put those.
So what was the issue there?
The issue was that it was on a different sprue of transparent material, which I am storing for later assembly,
Yes.
because there's no way in hell I'm installing transparent stuff this early.
No, God.
That would be stupid.
That's a recipe for touching something with glue on your finger.
Oops, it's ruined. I have to start again.
Yeah, and order a new piece from, I guess, Japan.
Yeah, no, now it's an opaque cockpit.
Actually, update for that. I remember I've mentioned a couple times that I had issues with a missing piece on the Nightingale from older episodes of this.
Right, yeah.
And we found the piece.
Huh.
It was under the couch.
Where all pieces migrate to.
Yes, somehow, because I'd never had that kit anywhere near that couch. So,
I just wanted to go home.
I'm convinced that things that you drop teleport.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Like, I'm barely joking, because we've had an issue at the makerspace where somebody dropped the arbor nut for the table saw, and it disappeared. people have been pawing through the ducting system and like mounds of sawdust for a week.
Oh God.
And they cannot find it. So they've ordered a replacement. But I'm just like, I swear, it's probably in the metal shop somewhere. Just like, boop.
It just hits the ground just that right angle and right through a wormhole.
It is that like sometimes like you see something fall and like bounce really weird and go off into this corner and you're like, oh wow, that. And then you see that and then you think about, you know, when you drop something and don't see it fall.
Yeah,
You're
exactly.
like, how far it could have gone.
It's pretty messed up, the distances that things can get.
Oh, yeah.
And the trajectories. Like, when you do find something that either went missing previously and you swear you saw the angle that it fell at, you're like, how?
How did you end up here?
It's weird.
The end bit of that anecdote about the the boxes that I had to break down. I used a heat gun on them. It was great. You just melt the glue and they just come apart without any issues. But
I never thought about that.
the idea was that at least for some of the models, there is specifically the Wave Corporation's Space Colony model of the O'Neill-style space cylinders. It's a pretty famous piece of artwork as its box art. So my plan is to actually just kind of crop that in, give it a hit with the matte finish, and then put it in a frame to have a nice little space colony photo.
Nice.
Neat.
It's like you're just turning like the lid of the box into a poster, basically.
Essentially, yeah.
That's kind of what I did with my gunhead model. Is I kept the top because it's this great action pose of it, like
Right?
rumbling along, blowing everything up.
It's good art is good art.
Yeah. And box art tends to be pretty good.
I mean, it's designed to get your attention.
I mean, it would be neat if they did a thing with like, I don't know, the inside of the lid of the box had like a thing that could actually be like stand up behind the model and be like a backdrop. That'd be kind of a neat effect.
I mean, God, I think I had at least one figure that did that. But what I'd really like is just the inside of the box art to be printed without any text over top of it. Just the artwork. But
I'll do you one better. There's text on the outside, and on the inside there's a reverse printing that has no text.
oh no.
Yeah?
It blew my mind when I realized that movie posters are printed double-sided.
I know. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, what?
Proper movie posters that are put in the theaters are printed double-sided
Porque?
because when you project a light through it, you don't want.
Yeah, when they're like in a window for a long time and there's light going through it. Yeah. I actually have a bunch of old movie
sorry,
posters from a theater in my closet. I had a friend who worked at a movie theater, and I got a bunch of like old movie posters that they're that double-sided, but one side is reversed.
That's
wild.
wild.
So that they last longer and they don't fade as much in the light, but also if it's bright inside and dark outside.
Or if it's just illuminated from the backside, which they often are, it's not going to be washed out.
That is wild.
Yeah. Usually they're in like light boxes. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't have lost J.
Did you forget about Jay?
Wait, no, it's L that I need.
You know, the thing with dropping stuff, there is that, you play video games, you're like, haha, look at how janky the physics is.
Oh, you're so right. Meanwhile, like actual
And
physics.
it's like, no, that is an accurate example of what would happen in that sometimes things move in really weird ways in the real world. In fact, in video games, they probably like have all sorts of constraints and smoothing to make it not
Less
be
janky.
not be as weird as it is in real life.
I bet that's the case.
Problem?
Just missing. Not missing, because clearly it's not missing. It can't have gone anywhere. But I don't know where the runner that I'm looking for is.
Have you looked under your couch?
Not yet, but I will when I get home.
Check this out. So this is how the thing is going to articulate eventually.
Oh, sweet.
It's like a ball and socket, which I'm not going to put together just yet, but
Actually, that's a polycap, so you could absolutely pop that in. But I wouldn't because, yeah. You don't want to crush your glue points before everything's properly set up.
So it is. So I guess we've determined that it is actually going to be an articulated model.
it's going to be posable. I don't know how many points of articulation it'll have.
I think, yeah, the legs, I don't know.
Oh man, I should. Okay, so there's a big lamp, like a searchlight. Mm-hmm. I should see if I still have those little like tiny LED things that I got for my gun head and never installed. Because I ordered a bunch of like teeny little like diorama lights.
May I ask
that I never
when you ordered those too?
Years ago.
Cool, because the technology has
Ew.
only gotten better.
I've seen neat stuff with like what do you call it? Like near what do you, not NFC, but like basically, so you don't have to have like wires all over your model. You can have just lights that light up in the electric. You can just set up the electric field.
Using the
What?
okay, yeah.
Well, you don't need a lot of like LEDs. Don't require a lot of voltage.
You
No,
can just
no.
wireless it to
But-
them?
So you can have
Inductive.
Yeah, that's right, inductive.
That's bonkers.
That's rad.
So you can have some you can have an inductive power source hidden somewhere in your model, and you don't have to have the wires so prominent.
I'd
Having-
love for you to misjudge that and have too many like photo etch parts, and then like you turn it on for the like presentation, the whole thing just melts.
Yep, absolutely would. The coolest
Like,
electronic.
oh, I like the way the gun shoots sparks.
Oh boy,
No, that's not intentional.
No, the absolute coolest electronic conversion I've seen recently was a guy who, it was a Macross Valkyrie. But it didn't transform. It was just in jet mode. And then next to it, he had a small, like about 3-inch tall diorama of the Valkyrie's cockpit. And in the cockpit, he'd actually put in tiny OLED displays so that you could actually see like Lisa
oh my
Hayes.
god!
Oh yeah,
Oh, neat.
Oh my
the
god!
stick was functional, as was the throttle.
And so it was like an sort of an inset shot of like what the cockpit looks like beside the.
Yeah, kind of like that.
That rules.
No, I'm not done. Because when I said the stick worked and the throttle worked,
It moved the.
it connected to the
control
actual
surface.
Valkyrie.
That's messed
yeah,
up.
so you could get the wings sweeping in and out. You would have the thrust vectoring on the feet. It was
That's beautiful.
Hang on a second, I just need my beer to come in. Oh, so good.
when you go through the trouble of programming your own flight control system just for the model. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I love it.
I saw a very cool video the other day. I think it's Veritasium on the micro maze, maze solving robot competition
Oh yeah.
that's apparently been going on since like the 70s. And
Interesting.
it's just ridiculous what they've these little teeny weeny basically like mouse robots that they have several. The idea is that they have like several runs of. They have this big like sort of 3x3 meter maze that is different every year, and then they give I think the robots get like 5 runs of the maze, and so like the first run they
They just sort of
find
explore it.
they explore it, and then by the end the final run that they do is just like it's not only that they have figured out the fastest route, but the physics and
They
programming
go straight to being speedrunners.
like the physics and programming involved and the power of these little things, and just like figuring out all the how the computer vision and the torque and all. They're saying these little things have more higher acceleration than like a Tesla Roadster.
Dang.
I could believe
Not for
it.
very long, obviously,
But they don't need to.
but they can end up going something at like something 6 feet a second, or like they can do the entire maze in like 5 seconds.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're teleporting through walls. How fast they move, these little teeny weeny things. It's amazing.
It really reminds me of.
Oh yeah, they have fans on the bottom to get downforce.
That's
to suck them down to the floor so that they can corner better.
that tech was banned in Group B because it made Le Mans cars too fast.
What's really cool about this is
doggone it.
because it's little robots. Basically, like the restrictions are like the size of the robot, and you can't climb the walls of the maze, and that's it.
That's rad.
So there's amazing. Apparently, like one person instead of like figuring out the maze, according to the rules, the time starts when you leave the starting area.
Oh no!
And so this guy has his little dude with a extendable camera that extends.
Oh God, its own Waldo.
It extends like 2 feet up in the air, and computer vision
the whole maze
analyzes the entire maze
Yeah.
before it goes anywhere.
That's amazing.
I love that kind of hackage.
It reminds me of. I don't know if they still do it, but I had some VHS recordings of
BattleBots?
MIT robot competitions.
Yeah,
Which I actually kind of preferred to BattleBots because like BattleBots was cool because it's people's homebrew robots beating the shit out of each other. But the MIT competition, it was about it was a teaching thing.
Yeah, it's like
where
opening doors. And
well, what they would do is the students, as their final project, they would be given like each team would be given an identical parts kit. So everybody's on an even keel.
Nice.
Everybody has the
I like
same
that already.
box of random junk, like springs and servos and batteries and like pieces of like.
It's almost like a Junkyard Wars. Kind
Exactly.
Of thing. Yeah.
But everybody gets the same kit. And then there's a challenge that's like competitive in nature that they have to compete in. They have to build the best robot suited to this competition. The first one I ever saw, it was an oval track where the robots would be placed back to back, and there's like a moat in the center. And on the opposite side of the oval was a tin can. And you had to just like hold it in your opponent's area for as long as possible. And so there was ones that would like
sort of like a tug of war.
kind of. And so there's ones that would speed around the track using like the barrier to guide them and just try to get there as fast as possible. There was ones that would cross the moat directly. There was arms that would reach over and pick up the can and place it. There was even ones that would like fire. There was like a meta where there was projectile launchers that were intended to defeat arms.
No.
Because they would shoot like a little thing that would knock the can over and make it more difficult for the arm to find it.
Oh yeah, First is the other one. That's a big robot competition called First, which is an acronym for something.
But I really love stuff like that because they have to be so innovative. The other one that I watched in the same sort of sphere was there was a pyramid sort of arena, and then at the top was a stack of tennis balls, also in a pyramid. Like a whole bunch of regular yellow ones and then a red one at the top. That was a tiebreaker. And you would have to collect as many as possible and deposit them in your goal ditch. And so they would like drive up and push, and there was simple ones with like bulldozers that would just try to drive the balls in. There were nasty ones that would deploy blocking devices to their opponent's goal so they couldn't score.
So is this like a 1 day competition or something, or is it like is it more like a robotics jam?
Kind of, yeah. I think like they probably had like weeks or months to prepare for it, but then they just like do a competition, and then the winner gets like this trophy, and it's a learning outcome because they, after learning a whole bunch of sort of textbook stuff and theory, they get the chance to overcome actual engineering problems, which I think is amazing. and I love that kind of teaching.
I mean, with the thing I was this video was talking about the micro maze thing. One of the things that they talk about is that because the little robots are so small, it is actually a very like, you know, you can just sort of you can do it, you know, in your living room.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't require a lot of, you know, you're using some fairly off the shelf component. You know, obviously, as things get more and more sophisticated, as you go higher up in the things get more sophisticated. But the central ideas, you can build something very functional quite easily. You know, and it's sort of got all the different disciplines of programming and the engineering
Hardware.
and the physics and dealing with the sort of interaction between the real world and the digital world. Like, you know, this is how the thing theoretically should move, but in the real world,
Exactly. Like, it really is an
there's friction
exercise
and all sorts of different
in
things.
almost literally where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah.
I'm a very big proponent in like real world education,
Yep.
mainly because that's how I learned.
Let
Let me get my hands dirty.
I am completely 4-H pilled. Learn to do by doing.
4-H?
4-H. The 4-H's, by the way, are head, heart, health, and hand.
Okay.
Yeah, it's most people know 4-H as an agricultural youth club. You know, for breeding cows and doing you know, farm activities, but it's a pan national youth club. I for one
Okay.
did photography as one of my small projects, small engine repair as well. That's where I learned to do that.
I wish I had taken small engine repair because I don't know anything about, like, beyond the very, very, very basics and what I learned in my summer car.
No, when I was 12, I was given a Briggs & Stratton lawnmower engine
Oh man.
and a very simple set of socket wrenches and other wrenches, and said, "This is your engine. Your job over the next 8 months in these evenings is to take it apart, down to the screw, clean the shit out of it, reassemble it, retime it, and paint it up, and then present it as a finished project."
Yeah.
And that's when I found out that people are the worst part of any sort of repair job.
You don't say.
Yeah. Some dickhead stole my crankshaft and replaced it with his bent one.
What a bastard.
So this was a like an extracurricular thing that you were doing.
Yep. It was
As part of it, so I guess it was just like club. I guess it's sort of the equivalent of like the scouts or something.
yeah, it's a youth club for learning to do various. Yeah, it's much like Scouts. We also held executive meetings every month. That's how I found out that I hate doing writing, is because I was nominated and then elected into the position of secretary.
Oh God.
I went to a very academic focused school, like high school, to the extent that like the only thing that they actually had in the curriculum that like fulfilled the provincial like applied credit was like PE.
Oh, right.
There was no other actual like applied things like you know, wood shop or anything like that.
Yeah.
Bring
and it
back
was-
home ec.
and so that was and that, you know, that was the kind of stuff that I was not more interested in. I have not, you know, terribly academically inclined. That was the area that I was more interested in. So I wish that there had been more opportunities for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, school was very much changing when I was going through high school at that time too. 'Cause we were composite school, which meant we had both the academic track but also the industrial track. So we offered metal shop, wood shop. My favorite, which was communications technologies, which is where I got to learn about screen printing, photography, cut my teeth on Photoshop and Illustrator at that time.
Wow, yeah, that's great stuff.
Yeah, good.
I think my first foray into that kind of sphere was through community theater and multimedia, because there was like a lab upstairs with like editing software and like a TV and some other nonsense for.
I was a big part of like, I mean, as I'm sure it's not any surprise, I was a big part of like the like video club at school.
What?
Where we would film all the, you know, school productions and various different things and stuff. So.
Nice.
But it's unfortunately, I mean, it is definitely one of those things that, you know, unfortunately in the world we live in right now, where with all the, you know, academic cutbacks and things, because it's something that is, you know, with academics, you know, there's nice you know, standardized tests that they can do to be like, you know, this is a certain percentage point. We did X, Y, Z. Now there's this. Now, you know, 10% more kids have a 3% higher result on the provincial exam.
That's good.
That means
Now we have some big, you know, as opposed to, you know, the measuring that kids are more prepared for their future lives and are happier and stuff is not as easy to put a number to, unfortunately. So it tends to be the first stuff that gets cut.
Yeah, my I don't remember if it was a career prep or what the name of the course actually was in college. He was a real hard ass and kind of a dick, but in a way that was useful. Like, he sort of bucked the academic trend and was just like, if you want to pass this course, you have to like come engage with me in person, like come to my office and like do the kind of stuff you would do if you were working in an office.
Wow, that's actually a very...
And a lot of kids really didn't care for that, and they were just like, this sucks. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it. This is actual prep work for, you know,
real life.
how it's really going to be.
Our career and life management was a required class in high school, and that was the one class I challenged and defeated. But that was because I was doing other weirder things with my optional time. I'm
Darker things.
I kind of. So when you say you're on the video team for your school, our high school didn't actually. We had a video club, but we didn't have any capture done of any of our things like that. It was just mainly people who were just testing out Premiere for the first time. I don't think our school even had a method of capturing video.
Like you actually have cameras?
Yeah, or any way of capturing it into the computer at the time. Because this was the Quadra 640 AV days.
Yeah, back in the day, inputting and outputting video from a computer
It was a pain in the ass.
Big deal.
A huge problem, yeah.
Big deal. But what I did get to work on, and for, I believe, at least 3 years, I was the most knowledgeable person in Alberta in this particular topic, was QuickTime VR.
Oh.
Yeah, we got a QuickTake 100 camera, which I believe had enough space on it for 16 photos, which was just enough for me to take 2 panoramas around the school. And one of my senior projects was to do a QuickTime VR tour of the high school. So that involved me coming in on weekends and setting up this camera in the hallways and just doing 16 pictures around in a row.
Incroyable.
I used to be really into QuickTime VR as well. It was a super neat technology.
It really was. QuickTime in general had a lot going for it.
One of my first projects that I did in college, I did a course called Information Technology and Applied Systems, which part of which was a web design thing. And what I did for my web design project was I did a website for, at the time, my roommates who were starting a business doing model painting, like Warhammer and various other miniature painting.
Right. As a service.
As a service, and so they had some, they were really, really amazing painters, and so they had some really good models, and so I did a bunch of QuickTime object movies.
Ooh.
So the reverse of the panoramas, which were never like object movies are not actually that interesting from a technical point of view because it's actually just a series of images, but it doesn't do. There's no like stitching really.
Mm-hmm.
But I made basically like a Lazy Susan thing.
Yep.
But like with so that it like clicked to different spots.
Ah, so you got the D-dents on it, so it's always the same.
So and to take like whatever 12 pictures or 16 pictures around in a circle, and so I could rotate around stuff.
That's really cool.
I mean, nowadays there's stuff that does that, but also builds you a 3D model.
Yeah.
So it's actually you only have to take like 3 or 4 photos,
And it's on your phone, so
it
it's
does the whole thing.
yeah.
But there isn't really because plugins don't exist anymore. The actual integration into like a website is kind of wonky still.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's hard to actually put that onto a website unless you're using fancy or some sort of weird stuff that probably won't be compatible with people's systems.
Generally got to have some sort of an embed there, yeah.
Yeah. Or the horrible scroll jacking stuff where they as you scroll up and down the page, instead of going up and down, the thing rotates.
Jesus, please, web developers, if there is a native option, let me just use it.
Apple is so bad for that.
Yeah, they are. They are not.
They really like messing around with the scroll.
So I mentioned earlier that QuickTime in general was a great protocol, and I really wish that it had taken off a little bit more in terms of its adoption, because it would have absolutely helped a lot of monetization today. Like a lot of people don't remember how much power there was in terms of getting things out of QuickTime. There were the hooks in there that you could put together a movie and have pop-up links be able to
there was
go
also
out.
it was one of those things that had all sorts of interesting technologies in it that never really no one never really implemented properly.
Yeah, like it would be great for us to be able to go back through all our and it was in the video
like
too.
Annotations and stuff.
Yeah, it wasn't an external layer that required extra code. It was just right there in the video. Like I would love to be able to go back and say, hey, let's go through all our crap shots where anyone is wearing any of our merch, and let's make that merch clickable with a link directly to the store.
I mean, the other thing, and I still don't know quite how this worked, but
Nice.
So
I mean,
briefly
go
to
ahead.
interrupt, I'm going to leave this searchlight totally disassembled, because if I do want to install a light, I'll want to be able to wire it completely inside the shell. So I'm going to put that in its own little compartment
case.
here as another thing to build.
I love that it has the slit cover on it too.
Like the old, I think
World
there was
War II stuff.
a lot of German like military cars. I don't remember what the reason was for that.
It was also used a lot in British cars, and not just the military cars.
Really?
Because what it helped do was keep the lights invisible from the air.
Oh, I figured it was something like that.
Yep.
And they also look super cool.
Oh yeah, they look super cool too.
They look so cool. Okay, propellant tanks.
But yeah, QuickTime.
but yeah, one of the things QuickTime could do that we still can't do is something that was extremely useful here in the office here. Up until we stopped being able to do it, we used QuickTime to edit VODs. Heather used it to edit VODs because it can do frame perfect cutting
and saving.
cutting and saving without re-encoding. It can do like between keyframe.
Wait, you can't do that anymore?
Well, it's extremely complicated to do it now.
The
Why?
The protocol still supports it. It's just that QuickTime's Player 7
QuickTime doesn't operate on new systems now.
Yeah, the QuickTime player, yeah, is just not a
Oh, that
going
makes me
concern anymore.
sad.
Yeah.
Because whatever video rendering system that QuickTime used somehow was able to do that, whereas FFmpeg can't do it. Nothing can do that. Can edit between keyframes without re-encoding.
That is so weird.
And without, borking the video. There have been some experiments done where, edits to the keyframe and then renders the frames that are outside the keyframe. But it's very shaky.
Yeah.
And I don't know why QuickTime could. I don't know what it was about the particular video pipeline, because it was still it's still H.264 and everything. Like, it's still the same video codec. But whatever the case, it could do it, and nothing else can. And at a certain point, Mac stopped supporting PowerPC or the legacy stuff.
Apple deprecated QuickTime 7. Let's just be in QuickTime Player.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't so much the deprecated QuickTime Player is that they stopped supporting PowerPC stuff, and they never updated QuickTime to be an Intel to work with x86.
If I recall, Apple was actually pretty involved in the H.264 standard creation. So that would make sense if they were able to actually do that sort of integration.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that they could do that, and they have been were able to do that for 10 years or whatever, and no other system has ever figured out how to do that, unless, like I said, I think there's some open source software that does it, but it's kind of janky. And not reliable.
It's weird that something seemingly so simple would be that complicated. But, so it is ever thus with computers.
I mean, that's.
Video codecs in particular are just so complicated. Not that they are. It's not that they could be simpler and they're not. It's just there's so much sophistication in them that. There are issues, but yeah. It's in.
Audio and video and synchronizing the two and making it small is not an easy task.
And it's one that very, very intelligent people have spent, and companies have spent billions of dollars working on because it's worth billions of dollars.
In fact, an entire joint expert group of motion picture experts is
It's true.
working on it day and night. Oh.
Every 2% YouTube can shave off the size of a video probably saves them hundreds of millions of dollars in bandwidth.
Oh, I bet. How do you work?
I just realized that one of the advantages of this type of cement is that it fuses the styrene in such a way that you can kind of
Just sand it away?
just sand it without puttying.
Yeah.
If it's like a nice tight seam. So I may do that a bit more. We'll just daub these seams and see if we can get a nice seamless tank here.
It's good nobody likes putties.
That's a story I need to research a bit more.
Power Rangers?
Yeah. Well, specifically the story of Hiram Saban bringing it over. It's amazing that... Well, no, actually, it's not amazing. And I know exactly why that's the case, is that they did a much better job using the license over time compared to Harmony Gold, just sitting on Robotech and hoping that one day it would become popular.
It is quite a. It's not very not very popular to do anymore. But the thing of the Power Rangers and those ilk, where you're basically you've got this raw footage.
Yeah, you take like a Sentai show and shoot new.
And you come up with like a completely different story with this, or I mean, in case you do like the Samurai Pizza Cats thing, where it is literally just a different story without any new footage.
I did not know that.
Yeah, Samurai Pizza Cats,
yeah.
they didn't have the script.
That's even funnier.
They just made it up.
Yeah. Samurai Pizza Cat's a special case there, but with regards to like shooting all your own stuff, like that's what localization is. It's just they went a little bit farther than just translating words.
And having to try to explain away why various things change. It's like, oh, we just got an upgrade and now our outfits are all different than they were before because we've actually switched to a different show. It's
oh God.
Yeah, it's quite a I don't know, it's quite a brilliant thing.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing that it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, speaking of amazing that it worked, this is a very complicated looking little piece here. So it's got this hinge thing.
Oh,
See down
wow.
in your lower right hand corner of your screen. Now I'm going to insert it somehow into this piece. Oh, I see how this goes. So this centerpiece is going to be able to move backwards and forwards inside here, allowing also the bendy. It's happened.
That was a small one.
That's like a very it's not just a hinge. It's like a very sort of dynamic. It's like 2 or 3 hinges all kind of working together.
It's a joint.
Yeah.
Universal Joint Gundam.
I just finished building building and then taking apart the YF-21 from Macross Plus.
Ooh.
Beautiful kit.
I imagine.
There's one hip joint that needs to be pulled up and then out. And at the moment it's too tight, so I'm going to need to get in there with sandpaper, but otherwise I'll have to use like a piece of pliers to...
All right, spread them.
Yep. I think this is what's supposed to happen.
Oh, I hate that.
Nope, get back in your hole there. Okay. What's next? A21. Where are you, A21?
21.
H.
One of the things I like about these sort of grungy armor kits is that you can cover numerous modeling faults as just like grime.
Yep.
Or like manufacturing defects or something.
Damage.
Like, if someone told me it's like, oh, you just have to build, like, I don't know, an F-19 fighter jet, I would start sweating bullets. Be like, oh God.
That's too smooth.
The canopy. Just start dry heaving.
And then there are those absolute mad lads who get into their kits with a soldering iron.
Wait, they're soldering plastic?
Well, they're not there to solder the plastic together, but they use the soldering iron as a way of making bullet holes and beam saber strokes
that's
across
cool.
shields and things. Yeah, but that's a one-time operation.
To deliberately buff up your model.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get it right the first pass, or...
Well, you are hooped.
Okay, I am checking the polarity on this repeatedly.
Good call.
Because I could very easily assemble these backwards. In fact, I'm going to... Maybe I'll just wait on that.
Mein Führer, we've installed the V2 rockets backwards.
Like a nice little sub.
Yeah, it's a good cylinder.
Tube.
Just imagining, a big Robotech mech. It's like, it's the finest in engineering the human world has ever seen. Wait, are his feet on backwards? Oh. And the engineer takes out a big plan, turns it upside down. Oh.
No. Kind of want to see now a scene where one of those large mechs just you get the hero music happening. The protagonist is just about to push the lever to transform. You get the exterior shot, and the whole thing just falls apart. Lack of fascinators.
And then you cut to like at the warehouse. This guy comes blustering in the door with like a tube of CA glue this big. That would be a really funny conceit for like a spoof, like Gundam show.
Yeah.
Is like where it's all like in universe built out of plastic sprues and stuff. So you've got like two guys holding the god hand cutters.
God, I kind of love that. Just the idea that
I'm surprised they haven't done it.
Magic happened for some reason, and now giant robots can be made, but only out of polystyrene.
It's like, I guess.
And suddenly a group of people are experts in their field.
It's like, I've waited my entire life for this opportunity. You just imagine the shonen speech of like the NEET who spends all his time building Gundam.
Yep. My time.
Or it's just like Robotech combined with like the Borrowers. just like little teeny people.
Oh, Miyazaki's not going to like that.
He didn't have very much oversight on Ariadne, did he?
I don't know. I mean, that was a Miyazaki film, though, wasn't it?
It was a Ghibli one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I don't...
The distinction between Miyazaki and Ghibli has been getting wider and wider as time goes by.
But that said, I think if it was a Takahata film, I would have enjoyed it a lot more.
Like, I remember it being fine.
Yeah.
Like, it was like a sort of kids fantasy movie. I was like, this is fine.
Ooh. Excuse me for one moment here. I'm just going to step away from the camera.
Okie dokie. What place did your horse come in? That's just you and me, chat. We can talk about my favorite interaction when I used to work at a hardware store. Like, I didn't experience this personally, but there's apparently one of the guys I worked with said that a customer came in and like slammed their hands down on the counter, looked him dead in the eye and said, "You got any of that sniffing glue?" And I mean, I don't know how you respond to that. It's like, well, yes.
We have
the finest of sniffing glues. I mean, at that point, I don't actually think that quality is much of an issue.
We have a delightfully perky 2005 vintage here, so
Just the testers today. You know, I'm saving up for a special occasion. Unlike other narcotics that have complex interactions with your brain and central nervous system, inhalants just give you brain damage.
Did I mess this up already?
Beats me.
No, I didn't. No, it's the children who are wrong. Okay. And by children, I mean the parts.
I mean, they are the children of the parent sprue.
Very good point.
I mean, I figured that was where you're going. And if not, I get to look smart.
Ah, it's all right. It was a Simpsons reference.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, of course.
Everything is nowadays.
Yep. The amount of shit they predicted with like startling accuracies.
It's
unsettling.
It's weirdly almost like the Bible in terms of like cultural understanding, levels of understanding in North America. That it's seasons 1 through 12 are like the Old Testament. Everyone knows all the stuff from there because that's where all the good stuff is.
And then it just sort of goes off the rails.
Well, seasons 12 through I think the mid 2000s. That's like the New Testament. Not many people read that, but it's better quality and widescreen
For various
because it's
interpretations of what quality constitutes.
modern, more modern. I guess
That's a better way
better way
to
of putting it.
say it.
And then, of course, after that, you get into the 2010s era, and that's like the Book of Mormon.
Oh my God, you're so right.
No one can quote anything from
Latter-day Simpsons.
it. The latter. Yeah, thank you. That's what I'm going to be calling these recent seasons from now on.
Latter-day Simpsons.
All right. Oh, wow.
Nandato.
We have movement on 2 sides.
I think the last time I saw a ZOIDS kit was one that my dad built from like the 80s, and it was all mechanically articulated. Like there was batteries and stuff, and you turn it inside, and it was like a big dinosaur that would like lumber around. It was very cool.
Apparently, they still make some of those.
It's the way it's like not when you think of like an articulated model, you think of like, okay, there's a bunch of like ball and socket joints, but the way like the linkages in this thing are incredibly sophisticated.
Haha.
Like this, we're talking engineered. I absolutely could not do the calculations on it anymore, but I could absolutely think about which calculations I would use from first year mechanical engineering to work out what's going on in these joints.
I was wise to delay my assembly of this part because this side is the one that has a peg
Aha.
in the face.
Smart.
This side gets pegged, and now I'm pissed off that I spent all this time sanding this area that mates
Yep.
to a frickin' inside. Never mind, it's fine.
But if that part was rough, you would know.
Yeah,
You would know that it was not correct.
yeah, that's fair.
Come on, Alex. We were both people who look behind the cabinet to see if the back's been finished.
Oop, my glue has expired.
7 and 8.
One of the problems with this stuff is that the viscosity is so low that it's difficult to pour without it spilling everywhere.
And depending on the surface, it's you might not want to spill any of that.
Yeah, if it was a plastic surface, we would be in very, very bad shape.
Well, I don't know what the finish of this table is made of, so...
It's probably not styrene.
Probably not. Probably not.
I don't know how many types of plastic it actually interacts with because it's like formulated for styrene. But I'm curious now.
Let's just go ahead and not test that
Yes.
on our beautiful tabletop.
I will not test it on the beautiful. Okay, so it doesn't look like it does anything to poly. Oh, maybe.
I'd be curious about what it does to acrylic.
Do you have any acrylic? Actually, maybe this transparent sprue here.
Nope, nothing.
Nothing.
Interesting. Chemicals.
Yep. If that was actually, we should, for comparison, let's just grab a little cheeky bit of styrene here.
Yes, this is how we learn.
And see how it acts like movie acid. I'm melting!
Oh.
I'm melting! Oh, what a world!
Get enough on there, you can pull them apart and make an antenna.
Oh, the way you do that is with a lighter.
Ah, okay. Ah, yeah, that makes a lot more sense, actually.
It does it? It's not a smart way to do... Well, kind of. And I... Wait a second.
What up?
Just gonna move some things over here.
Are you going to show off a technique?
I am.
Ooh. Ooh. Ooh.
Move down.
So that is now usable as...
Whip.
Now you have teeny weeny nunchucks.
Yeah, this is my peanut lighter, which I got because the times when I need a lighter are about this often. And it's also like, it's really great because it screws together and
Got O-rings?
sorry?
It's got O-rings?
Yeah. And so the fuel lasts a really, really long time, unlike a Zippo
I too have carried a Zippo.
that will, evaporate in 5 seconds.
and have never had it have fuel when it needed it.
So,
Does it just go when you undo the lid?
no.
Oh.
Here, you can do a close-up. I'll show you. So you unscrew the top, and there's a striker wheel and a wick.
So inside it basically is like a Zippo.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. And then to extinguish it, you just put the cap on. It's like,
And the fact that it like stays on is kind of cool. So you don't have to like have your finger on it.
yeah, like it being freestanding makes it more convenient than a Bic for the kind of weird stuff that you would use a lighter for that isn't lighting cigarettes.
You don't have it being all sealed up. You don't have a danger of like terrible butane smell in your pocket.
It's very, very practical. But anyways, yeah, this stretching of styrene is a way to make antennas or cables or like any sort of wiring or whatever. It's very cool.
Should your kit not come with it?
Yeah, don't inhale too much of that stuff though.
Nope.
We're professionals.
We just do it all the time.
It's called a peanut lighter?
Yep. Because it is sort of shaped vaguely like a peanut, I guess.
No, it isn't.
Look, I didn't invent the stupid thing.
Doesn't like anything like a peanut.
World War II soldiers called a lot of things a lot of things.
I guess it's because it's small and tube-like.
Peanuts known for being tubes?
I guess. He used it to roast their peanuts. Well, it's like, I mean, maybe it's also called a capsule lighter. I'm not sure. I don't remember where this one is from. Does it have a... Oh, there it goes. Cage 5 VKB6 US. I don't think that this is official issue or anything, but... I really like very simple tools like that.
Simple to maintain, simple to service.
That's why I like building my own tools. I've been on a spate of that recently. Actually, you also feel really smart when you make one yourself because it doesn't necessarily cost something. Like I was actually thinking about getting a flour shaker for baking.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, that's stupid. I can make one of these. And so I got a peanut butter jar, washed it very thoroughly. And because I'm a dork, I printed a whole pattern and put it inside the lid and then just spent like a while like punching a nail through it.
But that's how you make it nice.
That's how that's exactly how you make it nice. And then, like hit the back with a file and it works perfectly.
And then people say, where'd you get that? And you say, I
Like,
didn't.
haha, I made it. Because I'm a cheapskate, but a genius. There's some stuff I wouldn't make, but lots that I would. Like, I don't know if I would make my own glassware. I don't even know where you would start with that. I've never blown glass, and I don't think that that's a thing that I'm terribly interested in.
Which is interesting because it's absolutely one where I think you could probably make a fair bit of bank.
Really?
My understanding is that glass blowing is one of those arts that's very slowly drying up. It's specifically lab glass type stuff.
That is definitely...
Scientific lab, glass blowing is quite sophisticated,
Yeah, that's like, if I was into any sort of glass work, it would probably be pretty simple, like artistic, which is to say like non-precision.
No.
I mean, it's like I have a caliper and I have a cheap micrometer, but I don't do very much precision work.
I think there was like a Tom Scott video just recently about people, these like couple of sort of very sort of rough, slightly rough and tumble looking British guys making beautiful glass engineering, glass work where for in the like it's an incredibly sophisticated thing, but also using very fundamentally fairly simple things of blowing air and doing things, but incredibly knowledgeable to do it just the right way.
That's exactly it. Is doing it the very specific way. Because otherwise, what is it? Just it's blowing and rolling.
Yep. I mean, it is one of those like art sciences, where there's like a lot of subtlety to it.
And just, I mean, glass as a material is so wacky. Like
Fascinating.
It's this material that's solid, but then you can apply heat and start sort of messing around with it.
But even when solid, it is still a liquid. It's.
And it has, all the sort of internal tensions that you have to deal with.
Like what's it?
Prince Rupert's drops.
Rupert's drop.
Oh, love those.
So weird.
Hi, I'm in tension.
Hello. I'm in tension.
That's pretty much how we all live our lives these days, right? We're just one Prince Rupert drop.
J2.
Oh yeah,
okay.
maybe it was Alex Steele, not. Yeah, I think
Not
it was
Alex
Alex Steele.
God,
No,
yeah, no, he does
he does great stuff too.
love his blacksmithing work.
Yeah,
He is such a boisterous lad.
yeah.
Also, like, I really appreciate that on his channel, he will work on something for weeks, and then one day it'll fuck up and be completely irretrievably ruined, and he'll like have a sort of like tragic moment and then just be like, yep, this is part of the thing. It's just like sometimes stuff breaks and doesn't work out. Like I think he was working on like a guitar or something, and when they went to heat treat it, it warped, and he tried to heat treat it like a second time, or he tried to straighten it, and it snapped.
Oh no!
And seriously, like literal weeks and weeks of work just down the toilet.
Yep. No,
But I really appreciate channels that do show that side where it's like, yeah, and then sometimes you just don't go to space.
Well, you're on one of those.
Oh yeah.
3 weeks ago, I blew out a CRT. Well, didn't blow the CRT out, but made the board go magic smoky.
Oh, you let the smoke out?
Yeah.
Classic blunder.
C5 and C4. I mean, don't worry about the C4.
Okay, I had another crap shot idea because I saw, those AED stations?
Mm-hmm. Write it down, Chad, by the way.
Have that, only it's an IED station. It's like, this man's having a heart attack. Don't worry, I've got the IED. The what?
What?
Boom! I mean, I've done that same comic, except it was a joke about IUDs, which is not really our brand.
No.
But it's my brand.
That said, Get your shit together, BC Health, and
get some IED.
it turned down the waiting time. Apparently, we're looking at about 2 months in BC to get one installed. IUD, not IED.
Not AED.
Not AED either. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make sure you double check what's on your form before you go into the thing.
The anti-baby tea.
Which could still be an AED.
Touche. Okay.
Like you just shock your boyfriend. Don't worry, I have an AED.
Why does it look like a psycho frame?
A what?
Oh, but that MacGuffin.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, like, is that part of a Psycho Crusher?
No, it's the material that Char-Aznabul's mobile suit was embedded with in order to allow him to psychically communicate with his craft.
I'm sorry, what?
Oh yeah, no, stuff gets real wacky in late UC.
I mean, I probably should have known that Gundam turns into, like, psychic BS before long. I think Gundam might be one of those shows that I just, like, osmose culturally and assume is magic or just, like, made up.
You've got enough Sherpas to get you through it if
Well,
you ever want to experience it.
Maybe. Probably not. But maybe.
I think I'm building the tail.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I think that's what I'm doing
The
here.
nice part about this kit is that it labels which segment you're working on.
That is quite handy, actually.
Yeah, I kind of dig it.
Especially for something that is as fantastical as that is.
I'm trying to identify some of these parts, like what they might have been as actual
Where they're from?
components.
Ooh. And?
Well, nothing recognizable, but probably because I don't build that many models.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And these all would have been pieces from kits in the 80s.
yeah.
Oh.
You know, I do remember that there was like for Star Wars, there was a particular kit that was very prized as like Greeble fodder. I don't remember what it was, but
I believe it was one of those. It was a battleship, but specifically a wooden battleship, I think.
really,
But
I thought it was an aircraft of some
it
sort.
might have
I mean,
been.
I remember. I think it was on like an episode, like a Q&A tested thing with Adam Savage talking about Greeble stuff, model building things, and saying that like they at Lucasfilm they had like dozens of little like Greeble molds.
There's a
That it's like if you had any like extra resin from whatever you were doing, you would just pour it into one of these and make a couple sprues of
Greebs.
random stuff.
There's a couple great shots from the documentary on Disney Plus, Light and Magic, where you can see this pile of model boxes just in one corner of the early Lucasfilm studios. And yeah, I remember a bit about where they were talking specifically about the Death Star building Greeble panels that they then had to cast hundreds of. And then
Oh,
lay
that's how they.
down.
Oh, okay, that I was gonna say that probably saved them, like, incalculable amounts of time because.
Probably saved them a bunch of time, but it didn't take a short amount of time regardless.
Well,
Well-
I mean, it's just like less complicated.
Yeah.
There's also like big chunks of. There's all sorts of interesting things with like big sort of chunks of sort of Greeble stuff, and then using that same piece, rotate it, spin it, flip it, bop it,
Exactly.
use it all different ways, and it looks like a different thing.
Yep.
And so you can make 50 of them.
Especially if you're zooming over it at 60 miles an hour simulated.
So here's an interesting little bit of trivia. In my comic, I've referenced Greeble's straight out of Red Dwarf. So I found some like nice model shots of like straight on of the panels,
Nice.
and I like spent an afternoon drawing them out.
From just like the long
Yeah, just like
flyby?
tracing them off. I think it was an actual behind the scenes where they were showing like pictures of the model assembly, and so I like took a bunch of notes, and I would take some of the photos and then like unskew them to be in like not perspective,
Yeah.
and then like just trace some of the major zones, and then I'll like cut out pieces of that for when I have to do ship parts.
That is a super cool homage
Yeah.
to do.
It's our
I really like that.
official Red Dwarf Greebles. Except no substitutes.
Oh, you weren't on this episode, but a few episodes back, model building, we were still doing the Nightingale. It had come out that someone had figured out what model kit they used on the front of the A-wing fighters in Star Wars,
Really?
and it's an A-15, or not an A-15, an F-15 Falcon.
Because I guess, of course, those were all kit bash too.
Exactly, and the guy just goes in and looks directly at the model, and you can see the front air intake for the jets, but also which model it was, because early versions had front canards for extra maneuverability, and then those were removed in further versions of the model.
What?
God damn it!
Right?
It's like that thing with the,
Oh,
You know-
that didn't sound good.
No, everything's fine.
like there's a particular, there's a particular dashboard piece from an old car that is extremely difficult to find because it is also the piece that was used to make the surrounding of the encased in carbonite
Yeah.
frame for Han Solo, to the extent that it got so hard to find that then people started making it specifically for people to make Han Solo and carbonite kits.
Right, because yeah,
But then it also worked for the cars again. So
There's just like
So you
there's
could-
probably
if
this
you-
rivalry between like vintage car kit builders and Star Wars fans.
yeah.
yeah.
I bet you there was at least one like fist
like-
fight.
It's like, I'm gonna sell this to you on the condition that you put it in a car and don't make another stupid Han Solo and carbonite.
He's only there because he was contractually obliged to be killed at the end of the second film.
Really?
Well, I don't know if it's that specific, but I do know that Harrison Ford absolutely wanted George to kill off Han.
Should have been careful what he wished for
Kill me,
Well, I mean,
coward.
he finally got it. Well,
in the lamest way possible. I rewatched the despecialized editions of those movies for May the 4th, and they're really good.
Yep.
They're really good, and particularly if you just think of them in a vacuum
yep.
with no outside like context.
I mean, a lot of them take place in a vacuum.
Listen here. I put up a lot of... Nah.
Wait, so how did the Minox scene work? I don't understand.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Only you care. You've built your entire personality around this, and you are nothing. You are nothing to me. Somehow Palpatine is alive.
Hey, the dead speak.
I'm sorry, I don't know what happened there.
It's a well-known fact that I am a huge fan of cross-cultural reference and inspiration, and that's exactly what I think Star Wars is the best example of.
It's a space western.
Yeah.
A very good space western. You'll never find
Well,
more.
A space western based on westerns that were made by Italians.
That I never thought about that until
Based
this
on-
second.
Which, in turn, based on
Samurai movies.
samurai movies, yeah.
So, yeah.
And then, of course, large portions of, space anime then are sort of goes back across and does that sort of back and forth pollination thing I find so
good,
fascinating.
No, there was recently a drawing from, what's his name? The character designer from Mobile Suit Gundam, who it essentially confirms that Char Azdamal's helmet is absolutely based on Darth Vader's helmet.
Oh, Oh no shit.
But this is why, you know, when we get things like Evangelion and stuff, that's why I'm so excited about that, is because it's, again, people similar to Lucas in terms of being fans of film and fans of cross-cultural things and seeing them mash them together into new works.
I mean, that's kind of how culture happens.
Yeah, it really is.
It is interesting. I mean, we have an opportunity here to discuss something kind of like intriguing. It's like, at what point is it like a natural progression of culture, and at what point is it appropriative? And
Well,
I think that's like an earnest question to ask, because like I do think that some things definitely do feel appropriative, and other things are just like, this is how things iterate.
that is something I think about a lot as well, and I think
It's not easy to answer, is it?
yeah, my knee-jerk reaction is to come back with a secondary question and ask, well, do you consider cultures to be static or changing?
I mean,
do you want culture to be preserved in a static state, or is it something that can be used and remixed?
I think that's too hard to answer holistically, because like there's some stuff that I would want to be able to exist as its own like identity, and to have that whole sort of history and tradition and so forth without it being like, I don't know.
I'm going to take it a little bit farther, and I would say that it is appropriation when your intent is to use a cultural meme, for lack of a better term,
Yeah, no, okay, I'm with you.
specifically with a profit intent.
Ooh.
And the reason I break it down thusly is
Okay.
that human beings and cultures are what they do, because culture is a living thing. You know, we celebrate Christmas not because necessarily it's important, but because we have always celebrated Christmas. You know, this is the joke about American culture, is that American culture is anything that your grandparents did. It's a tradition now.
Yeah, all right.
And so I think, yeah, it just needs to, it's an active conversation? Yeah.
It also, I feel like it has a lot to do with intent as well. But
I think it is that thing where there isn't, you know, as with many things, there isn't a hard line, and that line is probably different for a lot of different people.
absolutely, yeah, it is kind of subjective, because it's like one person can be like, this is great, and other person can just be like, this is terrible. And
yeah.
it's like, oh, you're both right. God damn it.
But this is the problem, is that we live currently in a cultural state where intent doesn't matter.
Well,
That's why I'm laughing.
I mean, but the issue is that intent is something that's very hard to pin down. necessarily.
to convey, to
I
pin
didn't,
down
I
into.
didn't mean to hit you with that rock.
And it's also something that can itself change as time goes on.
Gosh, it's complicated. I mean, I suppose you do have to evaluate it on a case-to-case basis.
Well, it's difficult to talk about too,
Yeah.
because not everyone is on the same page all the time.
Actually, you know what? You could, like, this isn't gonna, you know, of course, like, none of this is gonna holistically solve this, but I feel like on some level, consulting with this, like, the source material, at least carries some, like, it's just like, if you're gonna reference something, talk to one person who actually knows about it to just, like, get some thought.
Consultation is always important, but no one person can speak for a culture.
For sure. But like, I'm setting a bare minimum.
But it's, yeah. It's real hard.
But yeah, but it is. But like, yeah, the flip side of that is saying this person said it was fine doesn't get.
Yep. No,
is
you're
not,
right.
Is not a complete.
You're
you know,
right.
get out of jail or whatever.
I have
Like
heard.
we found the person who like gave us the easiest get out of jail free card. So now we have carte blanche to do whatever we want.
Well, and then there's also the question of what is, and this is especially difficult in the area of the era of large language models. Is
I definitely thought you were talking about like Gunpla. Just like the entire katakana alphabet in big sprues.
big
And how are those sprues numbered? Sorry, I derailed you with
no, that's I'm
dumb shit.
trying to remember what I was going to. The point about that was going to be. No, it's almost like fair use in that respect as well. That there needs to be some sort of transformative aspect to cultural to cross-cultural use before it becomes, I think, okay. Otherwise, you just get parroting, which is not culturally sensitive in any way.
Yeah, I suppose being aware of the context helps. I mean, that's what I attempt to do in my work. Like I'm actually just reminding myself that I need to book a consult with Rami Ismail because I have a Muslim character in my setting.
Oh, hey.
And it's a comedy, and I would like to tell jokes about all the characters, but I'm going to do so very carefully with particular situations.
That sort of consultation is perfect.
I know what I'll do. I'll talk to somebody who, does this kind of thing professionally and is like an outspoken representative in that sphere.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's my little bit of due diligence for what it's worth.
I think that's fantastic, and I hope that they'll be appreciative and will take you up on the offer.
Because like I've seen some stuff that I think would be really funny to reference. Like there's all these like YouTube videos and like TikToks of people like trying to pray, and their cat jumps on them. I'm like, that's really funny. Am I allowed to make that joke?
Yeah,
So, it's really, really funny. Just because, like, cats don't care about anything.
Yeah. And that's the interesting part is like the joke is that it's a cat interrupting something that is important to you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, God, now we're just talking about like general purpose comedy theory, which is something that I spend a great deal of time thinking about, particularly with regards to like where the humor is derived and like who is the butt of the joke. And I think that's I've talked about this a million times, but it's been a while since I said it aloud. The reason like offensive humor is offensive is most of the time it's not actually a joke at all. It's just a thinly veiled insult.
Yeah,
It's just like the last time you heard an edgy joke that's like, this group exists. Ha!
It's funny because they're different.
It's like, okay, where was the joke? And it's never to do with, relating universal experiences or like bridging cultural gaps or anything. It's just like, oh, they're weird and they alienate me.
As somebody who obviously I'm sort of steeped in comedy and stuff, I find one of the most rewarding ways of sort of interfacing with a different culture or whatever is to see what they're doing in terms of comedy.
Oh yeah, that's
about themselves. It's like, okay,
exactly.
what are the tropes that they see within their own culture?
Precisely, and like I think that's an important bit of research, and it's like, and that's why I kind of like that movies like RRR are coming into the sort of popular sphere, because you can see like what kind of jokes do Indian people tell about themselves.
It's also why I rail so hard against localizing too far.
Yeah.
Like if I have heard people say, "Oh yeah, I'm a localizer and this joke doesn't land, so I'm going to change it into a joke that will land for you," and that preserves the intent that there was a joke here. No, I want to learn the foreign joke because I want to know what other cultures think is funny.
Yeah.
There's a great show on I think it's on Disney Plus, at least in Canada, called Reservation Dogs.
Yes. Yeah, it was produced for Fox Searchlight, I believe.
Oh yeah, which is where but it's very very funny. A bunch of First Nations.
Oh, that sounds
guys.
great.
And I think they
I'm
are
already
actually
interested.
they were actually a comedy troupe before for
Teenagers.
yeah.
Oh man. See, that's what I want to see. Is just like what kind of jokes they do. Like
Bon Cop Bad Cop is also great.
there's
Just a Quebecois guy.
a YouTube comedian. I think his name's Stephen Hay. You probably have seen him. He's the emotional damage guy, and he's so fucking funny.
Oh yeah.
And so many of his jokes are about like his experience being, I think he's Asian American, like Chinese American, and because you get to see like a sort of different cultural perspective. Like I think they do the thing with like the flip flop shoe. They're just like, oh man, everybody knows about this flip flop shoe. When mom pulls that out, you're in deep shit.
And I do want to actually address something in the chat here. Lurker Spine says
Yes?
that, there's room. They say, there's room for more than one translation to exist. And if that were honestly the case, I would be railing a lot less than I am, because unfortunately we live in a capitalist society, and we've seen very much a lot of evidence that any media company is absolutely going to take the path of least cost, which is why we're starting to get more of these like subtitles that are just closed captioning and vice versa. And they're not the same thing, and they're not for the same people.
Yep.
But so if the companies are just going to choose a localized version, that's going to be the only one we'll give, then I'm losing out, and my only option then is piracy to find to hopefully find someone who is kind enough as a pirate to steal something and then retranslate it in a way that's giving me the jokes that I want to hear.
I mean, hilariously, fanslators kind of sometimes overcorrect in the opposite direction. Keikaku means plan.
They are not perfect at all.
Yeah.
By any means.
I would still take that over, the other direction.
I mean, I would be surprised if there's already large language model tweaking of like sort of smoothing out of captions.
Well,
like sort of writing. You have sort of a close to direct translation in a way that might be sort of grammatically awkward, and then run it through a Chat GPT type thing,
or do
to sort
manually
of turn it into a more sort of recognizable, a smoother English. But of course, there's the danger
I am
of
highly skeptical of
missing
like
stuff. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that, and also just like ChatGPT becoming this sort of like miracle technology that people are applying to everything now.
Chat GPT itself, I think, not there. But the idea, because large language models are literally built to find out what is statistically going to be the next word.
Yeah.
That sounds like kind of the perfect technology to apply to translation.
I mean, it is, and it does. That's part of the reason why translations are getting. We talked about the using the real-time translation on the phone. Like that's all. For some reason, there's this idea that like large language models are AI, whereas everything wasn't
Yeah.
before that. It's like we've had this for a really long time. We
Well,
just-
it's, I mean,
there's different. It's just a different application of
There is-
of learning systems that we've had.
yeah,
But-
there's definitely a craze in big air quotes AI, which, I mean, I'm never gonna get my wish, but I wish they would call it like simulated intelligence. Because it's not anything like what people seem to think it is.
I would just love it if they'd call it what it is. Like, we already have a word for it. Large language model.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like people are anthropomorphizing a program whose lineage was trained on fucking Reddit. And I suppose that's actually, par for the course. Garbage in, garbage out. It's just so tedious.
I mean, it is.
like-
It is. I mean, I've been very impressed with some of the stuff it can do. Like
I'm sure.
it's very. The stuff it can do is, it is pretty neat, and it opens up all sorts of interesting questions about how much of what we do in our day-to-day thing is kind of taking bits from other places and putting them together.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of an interesting question. It's not, Skynet, but
No, not even slightly. It has. It's maybe that it has a different set of things to think about than something like Skynet. And maybe people are arguing about the wrong things, or it's just like, yeah, because it is interesting having these systems that are able to like closely simulate certain things enough that they can be passed off, or on the one side can be passed off for any kinds of bad uses, and also many beneficial ones, like any other disruptive technology. It's just like utilization is
The big problem, and part of the problem that's keeping us from having a frank and real discussion about it, is that the way it's being used now is to exploit people. And
it's like,
That's the
it's like
problem.
the Scooby-Doo meme where he's just like takes the hood off. It's like, oh, it was capitalism again.
yeah, like that's literally the problem.
It was more like it. I mean, even beyond that, it's just like it's just greed, just hustlers hustling, and using a new toy to hustle people the same way they have since time immemorial.
For instance,
It's honestly so boring.
yeah.
This is like this super technology is being used to cheat people out of money. Oh, okay.
Well, and that's only one of the things it's doing.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I've become a person who cares about people.
What?
Yeah. Funny that. But I also care about technology.
As do I. Although, God, I don't know where I could place my interests. They're all over the place. Who'd have thunk it?
Well, who knows? Oh no.
Today's call of the void was lick the adhesive.
I was going to say though, but oh my, the guy who has an obsession with nuclear technology has questions about morality and technology.
No,
Who'd have
those could not be
thought?
related.
Oh,
There's no way.
what have I made? Not life, that's for sure.
God, I was saying to somebody that I'm really, really stoked about all the Zoomer memes about Oppenheimer.
Oh God, that's right. That's going to be great. Isn't
I
it?
think that's funny as shit. Because, like, this is, a major motion picture rendering of the dawn of the atomic age, which is, like, getting quite far behind us.
Is it a film or series?
It's a film.
Okay. I was hoping for series.
It's a Christopher Nolan film.
Ah, there
so
it
it'll
is.
probably be 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So it's almost a TV series.
And he used a real atomic bomb.
I remember when they came out, they're like, hey, and yeah, we've got, we're showing the atomic bomb testing, and there are no special effects. And then everyone was like,
Well, hold up.
wait, what?
It's like, hang on. What do you mean there's no special effects? It's like, that would be so funny if it turned out it's like, no, we weren't kidding. It's like, we managed to, like, pay the IAEA to look the other way as we blew off, you know, a 1 kiloton little job.
Kept
for
it
the
under
movie.
wraps for 3 years.
Look, if anybody could do it, James Cameron, not James Cameron,
Christopher Nolan.
Christopher Nolan.
That would be so funny.
James Cameron would have to find a completely existing race of other aliens and then blow them up.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, just seeing the new perspective on it, and it'll be interesting to see what, you know, they make of that kind of thing, because, you know, I think I take for granted how much I'm aware of, like, Cold War history, and I don't know how much they teach in schools these days. Particularly U.S. schools. Just like, this was the time we beat the pants off of communists, and we totally won, and nothing bad came of it.
I'm gonna have to introduce you to the podcast Blowback, I think.
Oh, yeah?
Because that'll give you an idea of how bad education is.
So yeah, we whooped them commies good, and they didn't come back.
Well, I think this is going to be a good time for us to call it a show. I think we're all still fired up, but you know what I say? Leave them wanting more.
Gosh, that
Flew by, didn't it?
really did.
Yeah.
Well, shall we just see where we're at?
Sure, yeah. I've taken this up to the state where it's now actually starting to look like an actual...
Can we fit them both in the one frame?
Yes,
You know what? I'm just
you know what?
gonna go right
Yeah,
for it.
great.
To hell with it. Live a little. Oh.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I love the look of that that top pod.
Oh my God! It can like. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for Tinker Tailor Solder Fry for this interregnum. Thank you so much for everyone who is watching. Thank you to everyone who participated in the chat or just hanging out. Don't forget, you can go to patreon.com/loadingreadyrun if you want to give us a hand with all the things we do. Monetarily, we don't actually need your physical labor yet. Stand by.
We don't want your physical.
Stand down and stand by. And yeah, check out youtube.com/loadingreadyrun for links to the panoply of all the things we do. loadingreadyrun.com/schedule to find out /live to find out what's coming up on the channel, and of course all the other things. And we were going to say goodnight to you now, and as we always say, ever forward,
Never learning.
learning out of spite now.
Oh, I like it.
Cheers in a fortnight.
Is this one mine? Yes.